Boom, shakalaka boom. We are live here on the Clay Edwards Show with my good friend and yours, the one, the only, Mr. Shaun YUURTKURAN, our favorite blue-haired liberal. He actually has on a blue hat today.
Yeah, Ole Miss, man.
He actually has, got on the powder blues.
I finally got a powder blue Ole Miss hat. It's college hats are hard to find ones you like. I finally found one I liked. So.
Yeah.
So I'm in this college thing since we're doing this college stuff,
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I still like flat-billed hats. I like seeing people wear them. I had to say, Clay, at some point you just got to grow out of wearing flat-bill hats. And you haven't reached that point yet, but I'm not judging you either,
I'm 2 years younger, right? So, it'll take, that's funny you say.
It was about the time I hit about 45. I was like, you know what, you're probably too old to be wearing flat-bill hats.
I always think about that all the time, like when I go to the Buckle and buy a B-kit like I'm wearing right now, and I'm like, when's the point where I'm not allowed? Do I got 5 years? Because
about jeans?
No, talking about what kind of jean? Do you have to go to Levi at 50?
Now, just for the sake of everybody on camera here.
Yeah.
Now you can see me if y'all are watching on the stream.
He is too old for a flat bill hat, but that is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, holy jeans are perfectly acceptable.
Okay.
And they were bought like this.
Is there like a
give me the benefit of the camera there? I'm looking pretty good this morning. Must say so myself.
Is there like a standard on this or something when you can ripped jeans are cool to 50, but like flat bills are not? You know
what it is, man. To me, like the flat bill hat, it's a little more the hip hop culture stuff.
Okay.
And I just think that there's a point where we should quit trying to look like our favorite rappers.
Just that made me think of somebody who's around our age, is Bo Trebitich night at Cordless Coder. He always has a flat bill hat on, as long as I've known him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And he's always without a girl, too.
Oh, no, he said that on air to him. He's going to go crazy.
No, I'm kidding. Bo's had girlfriends.
I know.
I'm just kidding. Girls, let's ask women out there. And that was a joke, Bo. Yeah. Let's ask women out there. Women, is there a point where a guy should quit wearing the flat bill hats? Like Shaun's isn't completely flat.
No,
it's got a slight arch. And I'll be honest, those branded Bills hat I've been wearing with the state of Mississippi leather patches, they're slightly flat. I just kind of arch them a little bit,
right?
Just because I like the way they fit. It's a bigger hat. Mm-hmm. Some of them are a little too tall on the front, but I've just learned to get used to that.
Yeah.
So.
Or is it just any clothing, ripped jeans, Jordans? Can you wear your Jordans past 50? I mean, how does that work anymore? This is something actually, funny you brought it up, I think about. Like when do you go to the dad attire? I was thinking about what my dad wore when he's 50, and it was like khakis and a polo or something, which I just can't ever see myself doing. But
let's see here. Lindsay has chimed in on the chat. It says, "Don't be messing with my man."
Okay,
man. She's a me man. By the way, guys, if you would go check out the live stream. We're on Facebook, X, Rumble, and of course YouTube. YouTube's become our biggest streaming outlet, and I'm very happy with that because that's the one that I think is the most potential for growth.
Yeah.
Shaun, the YUURTKURAN law firm, decided that one camera wasn't enough for us here. He wanted to take this thing to the next level. Shaun made an investment, and I can't tell him in words how much I appreciate that, but we have a 2-camera setup here in the studio now. We got a switcher, which I know that probably means nothing to most of y'all, but if you'll tune in, what you'll see now is we're not having to sit shoulder to shoulder. There's a camera facing Shaun, and there's a camera facing me, and we got a nice split screen. It just looks cool. It looks professional, and I'm ecstatic myself personally. And today we get to really break this stuff in, and kind of the reason that we decided to go on and pull the trigger now versus waiting a little while to do this is we've got State Auditor Shad White coming in the studio. He'll be here at 8:30. Today is a 3-hour show. We will be on air till 10 o'clock. We've got Shad till 9:30. Maybe we can keep him a little longer if all things are going well and his schedule permits, we got a lot to talk about with Shad, so I don't think let me just say this. If we get an hour and a half, we'll use every second of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. But I want to thank Mike Madison for allowing us to use his hour.
Thanks, Mike.
This week. And he understood that it was a big opportunity for us to get Shad on here and kind of work around the schedules and all that. Otherwise, we would have only had Shad for 30 minutes. So, again, just shout out to Mike Madison. Be sure to check out his show. Mike was full-time here 9 to 11. Every Monday through Friday for years, for probably 5-6 years, and he decided to follow another pursuit as far as his job and career and whatnot. And he just does it part-time now. He does 2 one-hour shows a week on Wednesdays and Thursdays. But man, if you like a true libertarian point of view on things, I don't think there's a better show in the country than Mike Madison. You would never know that was a local show recorded here in Mississippi.
It's a great show.
It really is. It makes you question. Now he's gotten a little TDS here lately, a little Trump derangement syndrome, but other than that, it's a really, really good show. And I'm just picking at Mike. I love Mike to death. You know, I've told this story before. But you know, Mike is the manager that fired me for getting high with Willie Nelson.
Really?
Yeah, when I worked at rodeos back in the day.
Okay.
I was a bar back, and I got high with Willie Nelson and disappeared for about an hour on his bus.
That's worth losing a job for, though.
And my parents were there and everything.
But they had to be kind of happy about that.
It was a real proud parent moment.
You got to think. My son got high with Willie. Like, what sounds cooler than that?
Yeah, I mean, that story's aged well, too.
Yeah, that's totally worth losing the job.
It really is. It was funny when I had not seen Mike since then. So when I walked into WYB for the first time and I met Mike, and he was like, "You used to work for me." I was like, "You fired me for getting high with Willie Nelson. I remember you."
You and every other famous person has gotten high with Willie, right? So you and you're attached to all those folks.
Shout out to Miss Katie Gaines in the comments saying that we look very professional. Appreciate you, Katie. We got Lindsay in there. Miss Hallie, how you doing? She says, "Lead the flat bills in your 20s." Hallie says,
Your
"Lead the
20s,
flat bills in your 20s."
Yeah.
What about the holy jeans, Hallie?
Yeah, the whole jeans. What the whole jeans?
The holy jeans, not holier than thou, but holes in said jeans. Shaun, let's jump into it, man.
Yeah.
We don't have Shad till 8:30.
Sure, we got a lot of time.
We got an hour and a half. There was a little debate last night. I'm getting logged into my X account now, so y'all kind of bear with us just a second here. While I'm doing that, the Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. Mazda of Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. Man, I got a good night's sleep last night. I went to bed. I've been pushing to like 11:30, 12 o'clock, up doing show prep, making videos to drop. I didn't make a YouTube video last night. I was so tired after the debate that it would have been something hastily thrown together.
Right.
And sometimes I'd rather have nothing than poor quality.
Yeah.
So I got to bed. I got a good 7-hour sleep for the most part. Got a shower this morning instead of last night. I don't normally take my showers at night, but I was so tired. I was like, I'll just get one in the morning. Thankfully I did because it helped wake me up. But I feel good today, and I can tell the difference in a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Last night wasn't a good night's sleep. I probably got about 4.5, 5 hours at the most, and it wasn't the most consistent, uninterrupted sleep. It is amazing. You know, Shaun, as much as you and I talk about working out and eating right and trying to be healthy and all these other things, nothing makes me feel better immediately than a good night's sleep.
It's great. It's a good thing, especially if you're like, well, if you're not drinking, but I don't know. I was drinking last night because it was a debate.
I had a couple beers. I mean,
you got to. It's a debate.
Enjoy the debate. Yeah.
It's kind of like a game day.
The last one I did not, the presidential debate, there was one at my house that when I was in my 30-day no drinking thing, and that wasn't any fun.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I was like, I'm not doing that again.
No.
I had 2 shots of Fireball and 3 beers last night.
Oh.
And I was tired and I was ready to go to sleep and it was perfect.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, good thing to watch it, I mean, and that's being in that debate. I mean, I think it spoke for, there's almost like no commentary needed, I don't think. I mean, so.
Real quick, guys, I broke this on the Kim Wade show yesterday. I did the first segment with Kim Wade. I thought it was fire. Yeah, me and Kim brought the high heat yesterday. The podcast will be up here in a little bit. Listen to the whole thing, but the first 20 minutes, I got to say, was some of Kim and I's best work together. If you're a fan of Ukraine, you're not going to like it.
Okay.
Shaun, you're not going to like it.
Not going to like it.
Not going to like it.
Nope.
I've called for the extinction of Ukraine.
Okay.
But outside of that, y'all are going to enjoy that. But here's what I broke on there yesterday. Guys, y'all know on Wednesday nights, I'm at Burgers Blues Barbecue, downtown Brandon, for the Cordless Corner event. A friend of mine, Kat Jones, texts me yesterday, and Kat never texts. She goes, "Hey, call me. It's important." I was like, all right, immediately called. There's some people that they never bug you about stuff or ask for anything. So when they say something important, man, you stop what you're doing, you call them. She goes, "Hey, I've got some friends and family. I got some family in North Carolina, in Asheville. They've reached out to us and said, hey, look, they've actually got power where they're at. What they need more than anything right now is bottled water." And this come out a little bit later, or gift cards. So you're not just sending people money. You want to send gift cards, whatever. So here's what we've done. I called Bo Trebetich. We talked to Steven Seiler over at Burgers Blues Barbecue. I know some other venues are also water drop-off points, but this is the one I'm involved in, so this is the one I'm going to push, and I will tell you about the other ones here too. But I want to see you guys out this evening dropping off cases of water at Burgers Blues Barbecue. It's a good excuse to stop by, say hey to me. We're going to be there. If you're not camera shy, you can jump on and introduce yourself on the live stream if you want to. I think that'll be fun.
What time are you starting the live stream?
5 o'clock.
Okay,
I may even get there.
Stop by. So.
I may even get there a little earlier.
Okay,
because with this going on, I may get there a little earlier. But if you're out and about today, you want to drop off a case of water, 10 cases of water, whatever. They got that huge patio out there on the back. We're going to drop it off. You got till Friday at 4 p.m. to get it dropped off, actually. So don't build it around my schedule. I would just love to get a chance to see y'all, shake your hand, and tell you thank you personally. But we got a fella that's going to drive a big box truck, U-Haul type truck. And we're working. We had a guy from U-Haul reach out and said, is there anything I can do to help? So I got them all in contact with each other, fingers crossed. Getting the truck's not going to be a problem. And the roadway, Shaun, is washed out to get to Asheville, but apparently there's a back way in.
Yeah, I read that.
So they got that figured out, and he's going to leave Friday around 4 or 5 o'clock Friday afternoon and head straight to Asheville, North Carolina, which has been absolutely devastated by Hurricane. Is it Helene?
Helen or Helene? I don't know how to pronounce it.
I've heard it pronounced several different ways. So, look, Mississippi, I'm challenging y'all because it's an opportunity to show people why we're the hospitality state. Jacksonians, I'm particularly challenging y'all. America and the world stepped up to make sure y'all had bottled water during the self-inflicted Chalkways water crisis back a couple years ago. I don't have to remind you. You know when the water quit working, when Tate Reeves had to come in and save the day. I'm challenging y'all to repay America and say thank you for what you did for us. Here's a couple cases of water. Here's a case of water. Here's a $50 gift card, whatever. And drop it off at Burgers Blues Barbecue out in Brandon. Come say hey to me. There are a couple other drop-off locations that I'm aware of. Let me just pull them up real quick here. If you can't, for some reason, make it out to that one. Let me find where Bo tagged me. Here it is. One of our other proud sponsors, Acme Pizza and Daiquiris, is also a drop-off point. Right behind Acme is the Kingpin, the bowling alley, that bar they got in the front of it there at Fan and Mart. They're a drop-off point. Shuckers, everybody knows where Shuckers is. Shout out to Daryl Arnold. And, of course, Pelican Grill. My friend Kat is a bartender there at Pelican. So you've got till Friday afternoon, till 4 p.m. Friday to drop off water at any of those places. That's my challenge to you guys. I already had a couple people, 2 different people sent me $50 donations yesterday. I'll either do those in gift cards or bottled water, one or the other. Probably gift cards, to be honest, because I don't know that I can fit $100 worth of bottled water in the back of my Toyota Avalon. So, Shaun, you got anything?
No, I mean, I said, I'm going to try to stop by for the first time. So,
yeah,
check y'all out. I got, today we're doing 3 hours of this. This is luckily I don't have court or anything today, which is a good day because we're going to do 3 hours of this. Then I got to go do Lindsay's podcast at 2:30, what we're doing with the prosecutors from the Carly Gregg trial. So if anyone wants to tune into that, that'll be live on Facebook starting at 2:30. And then I'm going to have to rush over and meet y'all. So it's a busy day. Yeah,
y'all got a big day. I'm looking forward to hearing that podcast or seeing that podcast, should I say. This is the Clay Edwards Show. When we come back, we've got a bunch of clips from last night's debate, and I want to unpack that with Shaun. We were kind of watching it together, but separate. We tag teaming on the in the group text there. We only disagreed on one thing, and of course it was a big thing. So we'll talk about that and more on the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back. All right, guys, y'all bear with us. I've got to go use the restroom real quick. We will be right back. Y'all hit the share button, please. Please hit the share button wherever you're watching this at. Shad White will be joining us at 8:30, but we got a bunch to talk about between now and then. Let me throw this little thing up on the screen real quick. Little FAFO for you. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here live on the WYAB. Of course, we're streaming worldwide on YouTube, Facebook, and X at SaveJXN. Tune in, check out the brand new camera setup we got here. And we are, of course, on Rumble, too. Just search Clay Edwards Show there. And, guys, I'm telling you, it's so if you don't do anything else to help support this other than watch, it's just hit the share button. Hit the like button, drop a comment, just if nothing more than just, hey, you just don't understand how much that helps, how much that little engagement helps with helping them recommend these videos to other people and help grow this whole operation. The operation grows. We take it to advertisers. We say, hey, look at what we've got here. They say, hey, we would like to be a part of that. Those numbers look great. Where do I sign up? So that is, and then that helps keep us on the radio and on the airwaves and on the internet. So it's a trickle-down effect. A little bit goes a long, long way. Speaking of great advertisers, how about my friends over at Mazda of Jackson, the proud sponsors of the phone line here on the Clay Edwards Show. Look, there's never been a better time to buy a Mazda, and the best time and the best deals. There's never been a better time to buy a Mazda, and the best deals around are at Mazda of Jackson. Mazda is one of the top 5 most dependable brands around, and Mazda of Jackson has hundreds of new and used cars and trucks and SUVs available right now. Check out 1.9% APR for 72 months on the all-new Mazda CX-50 and the luxurious CX-90s. Also, get 3.9% financing for 72 months plus $750 rebate on the all-new Mazda CX-30. That $750 can buy your tag in some counties and pay about a third of it in others. Ask Shaun YUURTKURAN about the Jackson tags.
Yeah, right. It's $1,700.
Ooh, and look, the Mazdas also, the new Mazda also include a lifetime powertrain warranty. It's time to choose Mazda. Mazda of Jackson, locally owned, locally operated, right there on I-55 Frontage Road in, you guessed it, Jackson, and online at MazdaofJackson.com. Shout out to my buddy Grady Portera over there at Mazda Jackson. Always appreciate Grady listening to the show, being supportive, and dropping comments and everything else. He's a good dude. I worked with him at the Toyota store for years, and don't have enough good things to say about the fella. All right, we got the chat pulled up here. Let's discuss you know what, Shaun? Real quick, before we jump into the debate.
Yeah.
World War III.
Okay, yeah.
So I get home yesterday, and you're like, hey, guys, you know, Shaun and Fred Shanks and myself have a group text. And Shaun texts, hey, guys, turn on the TV. Looks like World War III just started, basically.
Yeah.
So we cut it on, and, of course, Iran is, you know, dropping bombs, which the Iron Dome still works, apparently.
Yeah.
But they're very aggressive. Clearly, I don't foresee it stopping. And if it does, I think it opened the door to allow boots on ground, to allow America to finally intervene in another foreign war.
I'm glad you brought this up. I think that's something I know we always have the debate to talk about, but this is pretty important in terms of what's going to happen. I think this is kind of I was telling you and Fred about this yesterday. The neocons since the Bush time have been waiting for this, right? This is Trump, actually, to his credit, resisted against it, during his time in office with John Bolton. Now he obviously ordered the assassination of Soleimani, which I agreed with. I don't have a problem with that. But but other than that, like, Trump was actually kind of trying to stop the inertia. This has been going on for 20 years. Well, actually, more than 20 years. Since 1979, we've been on this path with Iran. And, and there's a lot in the government over the last, 45 years that have wanted to see this war happen. And this is not going to be, make it clear, this is not like invading Iraq if we do this, if we go into this little adventure. This will be a lot bloodier and a lot much worse, far worse, casualties-wise. So anyway, back to what you saw yesterday, Iran attacked Israel. I think shot about 180 rockets. Like you said, the Iron Dome worked. I think our destroyers shot down a bunch of them too. But Israel is going to respond. Like, they're going to respond. And then Iran is going to respond again. So this is going to get out of control very quickly.
And look, as Israel should respond, just like I had zero problems with their level of response and retaliation when, October
7th, yeah, Hamas.
From October 7th, when Hamas effed around and decided to find out. Once you punch somebody in the face, you don't get to decide how much they punch you back.
No, we're in complete agreement about that. I would continue the war. I mean, we were supposed to be against the terrorists, right? I mean, that's what we should, I think, before, ever since 2001. So, I don't have a problem with Israel's response either. Now, then they went and attacked Hezbollah, which is kind of the genesis of all this, what's going on in the north in Lebanon, which I'm fine with that. I mean, they're a bunch of terrorists, and so they're doing what you're supposed to be doing, killing terrorists. Now, that's and Hezbollah is kind of like an Iran proxy organization, and that's what's caused a lot of this. So.
Well, let me ask you this. None of this happened under Trump's watch, and, you just said that. Trump cut off a lot of their funding. Iran, froze up a lot of Iran's money, cut off a lot of their funding, and the Biden administration came back in there and unfroze it and opened it up, and basically those bombs last night were pretty much American taxpayer funded.
I mean, I know a little bit about that. I'm not sure exactly if that may be accurate. But I can say this. Yes, where Trump is not a warmonger. I think we've all agreed on that,
sure.
Right? He's not. It's kind of interesting because he's a kind of a tough guy, but you'd think, but he's not. He's been resistant to the neocon kind of thing. I think
there's nothing harder in life to do than not be violent when you can be.
Yeah,
and I think that shows strength through peace.
And he does that. And that really is something to his credit. He is of the presidents over the last 40, 50 years. He's probably been the most resistant to international engagement. I just you could throw it on Biden if you want to. Obama, Bush, Reagan, whoever. This thing has got a lot of history of why we're here with the Iranians, and it's always some inevitability to it. That there's so many people in the government that want this war with Iran. They want it, and this may give them the excuse that they want. Now, what would be interesting too? Let's say Trump wins in a few weeks, right? What would he do in terms of this? I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be resistant, but I think eventually sheer inertia might take him on a path to war where he can't stop it. You know what I mean? Let me give this example. Israel overwhelmingly responds to this, right? Which we think they're going to, and then Iran attacks them back. And we've already got 40,000 troops in the Gulf right now. How many are we going to have by the end of the year? 100,000? I mean, and then we're back to where we were. I mean, and then how do you stop it? I don't know. It's a tough situation, man.
Yeah, my gut instincts say you let them fight it out, and on survival of the sickest. Mm-hmm. That's the way God intended things to be. Is yea who wins,
right?
Unfortunately, that doesn't fit the agenda here. We've been told that we have to defend Israel. That's in the Bible, which I thought Israel wasn't even a state to the 70s. So I'm not quite sure how
48,
for 48.
Right?
48. I'm not quite sure how that made it in the Bible. But whatever.
No, but I know what you're getting at with that. Yeah, what you're talking about in the 70s is there was an evangelical Christian movement in this country to go start visiting Israel and that we're going to protect Israel that really took a hold in the 1970s. I think maybe that's what you're referring to. Yeah, that's become like just our mantra that we're going to protect Israel. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just saying that it shouldn't run our foreign policy like it has.
Same. We agree on that. I just we shouldn't blindly jump into wars. Not blindly, that's probably a poor choice of words, but we shouldn't just be so quick to somebody picked on Israel. We got to go to war with them.
Yeah,
because we end up, as you explained to me, we end up at war. We end up picking on Iran. Well, that's Russia's ally.
It is.
Yeah, Iran is their Israel.
Yeah,
that
is true.
And then we're finally get the war with Russia that Roger Wicker and all these neocons and of course the liberals. When did the liberals become these warmongers?
That's a good question, right? When did that happen?
We often talk about in politics there's this alleged big flip where racist Republicans became. Or racist Democrats became Republicans,
right?
To fit the narrative that there was some big flip that the racists weren't always the Democrats. Shaun, this is a legitimate big flip here. When did the Democrats become pro-war, pro-censorship, pro all these things, and Republicans are conservatives? Because we're a fractured party as well.
Yeah.
When did we become the blue collar, anti-war, beer drinking, hell raising, free speech party?
It's an interesting question, right? When did that kind of I would within the last 10 years, I guess you would say, right? I mean, certainly Republicans were not pro. I'm not going to say they were anti-free speech, but they certainly were not where they are now, and let's say 2002, I'll use the Dixie Chicks example for that. That was a different kind of, I think it was a different kind of party. I mean, and of course, we've talked about this many times. You've seen a complete realignment with the parties, which has happened historically over the centuries, over the decades, whatever. And right now, the Republicans are starting to become or have become the party of blue collar labor. you're seeing this is the first time the AFL-CIO has not endorsed a Democrat. That wasn't who they were 25 years ago.
Which a non-endorsement of a Democrat is an endorsement for Trump.
Well, I think one of my good friends you met, Will, who ran as a Democrat in Alabama, and he had the AFL-CIO endorsement. He explained to me one time very well. He said, "Well, you can have the AFL-CIO endorsement as a Democrat, but all their members are Republicans, so it doesn't really matter anyway because they're going to go
just get their money."
Yeah, you're just getting their money. So I mean, and I thought it was a pretty good point. So their members were already leadership is kind of going where the members were anyway. Going that way. And at the Democratic convention, Bill Clinton actually touched on this. He said that all these people that you guys are jumping on that were voting for Trump used to vote with us. Have you ever sat back and thought why they're doing that? Like what is the reason for them to now be with the Republicans when they weren't traditionally Republicans before? Yep. They were traditionally Democrats.
I thought Jamie Dimon, the CEO of which bank is he the CEO of?
Oh man, this is
Morgan
Stanley, right? Is that right?
Was it Morgan Stanley?
Kingfish will text me in a minute, yelling. I'm sure.
One of the big financial companies. Right. Jamie Dimon came out and kind of said something similar. Hey,
J.P. Morgan.
Thank you. And he said,
I didn't know.
He did an interview with, was it MSNBC or Squawk Box or one of those shows, and he's like, why, instead of vilifying all these people, why don't we ask them why they're mad? Why don't we ask them why they left the reservation, basically? And instead of just saying, "Oh my God, y'all like Trump, you're all these things." Mm-hmm. Well, you ever ask yourself why they like him or why they don't like y'all anymore or us or whatever? And that's that conversation, Shaun, that I bring up a lot. I didn't choose Trump to be the politician that I felt was the most authentic and that I felt represented me the best. Trump chose me when he came down that escalator and started talking about Mexico not sending over their best people, and I saw the reaction from people on the left that their reaction immediately seemed anti-American, and I was like, well, everything they hate, I like. This makes sense, and boom, there was my love affair for Trump, the birth of it.
I think that's where, starting in 2016, that's 2015, but 2016, I think you kind of saw that attitude on the left with, with Hillary Clinton, the infamous comment, basket of deplorables and all that stuff. I think that epitomized the Democratic Party's movement away from this party of blue-collar labor. Because it used to be Democrats are like, the Republicans were party of the elitists, the rich, the, corporate masters. I mean, that's them. That was who they are. I mean, I don't think George W. Bush or, Mitt Romney or George H.W. Bush would be considered blue-collar people. I don't think anybody would think that.
Well, I don't think Trump's a blue-collar person, but he also is rough around the edges. He speaks the truth. And I think people were ready for something that felt authentic.
I think he's not, but he is, a blue collar. And here's what I say, because he was never accepted into the New York elitists. Because New York City is a lot of old money. Talking about old money, going back to the Revolution, kind of old money. And he, his family was immigrants actually,
like
from
Gilded
Germany.
Age money.
Yeah, gilded, right, exactly. It's that kind of. And he was never. They were kind of seen as landlords, and not like part of the upper crust. And so I think he kind of had that chip on his shoulder. That's what you're seeing, that kind of,
Raise your hand if you thought you were going to hear a Gilded Age come out of Clay Edwards' mouth this morning.
Age, right. He's buying a Victorian home.
I used to watch the History Channel. All right, look, let's take a break. Yep. Guys, if you're in the live chat, we're coming to chat with y'all during the break. You got a bunch of comments there. The Guns and Gear text line is filled up, 769-241-1944. We'll get to some of those as well. We got debate talk to get to and more. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun YUURTKURAN right here live on WYAB. All right, guys, let's check out the live chat here. We got a bunch of them. You guys are on it this morning, man. Let's see here. Find a good starting place. Chris says... a text real quick. Morgan says that, talking about the flat bill hats, Morgan says, not too old for flat bill hat or Jordans. That's hot dad to me.
Okay, there you go.
I like it. So I got no time to bust out the flat bill
You're going to get a flat bill now, right?
Yep, time
Mississippi
to bust
State
out the
one
flat
for
bill
the
hats.
Saturday, man,
Do what?
You'll need one for Saturday for Mississippi State, right?
Yes. I used to have them. Did I ever told you the story about the time that Mississippi State lost? It was their first game without Dak Prescott.
Really?
The following season. And they lost to South Alabama. And Dan Mullen was wearing shorts that game. And I burned all of my Mississippi State stuff in the driveway on Facebook Live.
Did you?
Yeah, a little lighter fluid. And I was like, this stuff doesn't even burn good. So I had a couple flat
I think
bill hats.
Corey showed me that video or something.
Yeah,
Right.
Corey has videos and screenshots of all my shenanigans. Let's see here. Chris says, Mike is the truth. He doesn't preach the Democrat and Republican Kool-Aid. Talk about Mike Madison. Mike is great.
I
man.
like Mike is amazing. I love listening to his show.
Terry says, I don't know why it's forcing me to reply to Terry. I just didn't hit the wrong button there. Terry says, Shaun is not what I would have pictured. I figured he'd have poofy hair and a bow tie. Yeah, we've done a good job of painting Shaun to look like something he completely doesn't. So he can shop in anonymity.
That's right.
Let's see here. I'm not going to read y'all's replies back and forth to each other. Chris says, how about listening to the water drop off the comments again when you get a chance? How about listing the water? Oh, listing the water drop offs. All right, Chris, I think somebody did list them. I see where Roger tagged you in them. So we got that listed there. The water drop offs are Burgers, Blues, Barbecue and Brandon, Kingpin at Fannin Lanes, Acme Pizza out there right in front of Fannin Lanes, and of course, Shuckers and Pelican Cove over in on the Ridgeland side of the reservoir. So let's see here. I'm just getting my schedule up so I don't miss my comeback from the. Where we at? All right. Let's see here. Good morning to everybody. Elizabeth. What's up, Elizabeth? Says, good morning, Clay and Shaun. Corey and I've decided that you are forever Clyde now. Oh, yeah. I don't remember where the Clyde came from. It was when we were talking about people renaming themselves different, the name of their choice. Let's see here. On X, Honest Liar says Iran was using supersonic missiles. Israel won't admit it publicly, but Iron Dome missed many of those missiles. Also, the gunman in Tel Aviv the other day appeared to be using an American dress M4. Wonder where he got that from. Valid point. I spoke of Grady a little earlier. Here he is in the comments. Says America needs to focus on North Carolina. We don't have the funds to fund our countrymen. We don't have the funds to help our countrymen. We sure don't need to have funds to jump into a war. And I could not agree more. That has been my hill to die on as of late. All right, we're getting ready to come back from the break here. Andy said, yeah, just let them fight it out, talking about Israel and Iran. That's kind of how I feel about it too, man. That is how I feel about it. Chris says North Carolina, but Tennessee as well. Yeah, man, our country's in bad shape right now. Yeah. We got another hurricane down there brewing.
Yeah, I saw that. Right. Let me look that up.
We're going to get double punched. All right, we're back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show, here live on WYAB. This segment is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Home Hearing Healthcare. Let me pull my sheet out here so I can read it right. Man, look, I had Dr. Carrie Snyder in here last week, and I've gotten so many compliments about her show and her appearance on here. People are like, man, I had no idea talking about hearing loss would be so interesting, but Dr. Snyder is so phenomenal.
Really?
At making it understandable
okay.
and very relatable. And at the end of the day, so many of us deal with hearing loss. And a lot of it is you don't realize you've lost your hearing until it's gotten to a point that you can't hear anymore. Like, because it's so gradual.
Right. It's not like eyesight, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so gradual. So you get over there and get checked out. But look, man, life moves fast, and so do advancements in technology. That includes hearing aids. Dr. Carrie Tilly Snyder at Home Hearing Healthcare has qualified audiologists who can help you navigate all the options to ensure you select the best hearing aids for your lifestyle, budget, and cosmetic preferences. Whether you're in a crowded restaurant or sitting in church, new hearing devices help you hear what is most important, no matter where you are. If you're looking to upgrade your current hearing aids or are considering them for the first time, visit homehearinghealthcare.com to schedule an appointment. I'm actually going to be going out there here soon, and we're going to make some videos. Y'all know I'm completely deaf in my right ear, and there's nothing they can do about it as far as like making me hear out of that ear again. But they do have a hearing aid device. It's basically earbuds, and you can pick which one is a speaker and which one is a microphone. Uh-huh. So you can put the microphone on your deaf side and put the speaker on your good side.
And yours is your right side, right?
Mine's my right side. So if anybody's riding in the car with me, I have a hard time having a conversation.
I bet that's come in handy sometimes, though.
It does. It
You know,
does.
when like like you're dating somebody that you don't want to listen to, and you just on the right side of the car, like, oh yeah, okay.
Sean, I will say this: if I'm dating somebody I don't want to listen to, we usually just don't date much longer.
Yeah, just saying.
That's
it can be
usually the end
useful.
of. We're usually winding that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's somebody in the car you don't want to chat with, or
Right.
you're on a bus or something, and I'm let me cut my hearing off. So, it's great when you sleep at night. I put my good ear in the pillow.
Yeah.
And my bad ear up, and I can sleep through anything.
That's awesome.
Sleep through anything. All right, let's see here. Y'all check out homehearinghealthcare.com if you have any issues. Got a text on the Guns and Gear text line that says, I have an appointment with her Friday morning. Man, make sure that they know you heard it on the Clay Edwards Show. Let them know their advertising dollars are working. Let's run through some text real quick. We did we caught the live feed up during the chat, during the break. All right, that was that one. Let's see here. Yeah, Michelle, Michael, I will send you, or not Michael, whoever was texting me, I'll send you my Venmo here in just a second. Guys, if y'all want to make a cash donation for the bottled water, text me on the Guns and Gear text line your preferred payment method, whether it's Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. I'll send you my link. You can send it to me. I will take pictures, show you receipts, all that stuff. I'll go get gift cards and or bottled water today. That's my mission when I get off from the station. Let's see here. Unknown texter says Barack Obama caused it, talking about America flipping, I guess, the big flip. Blake says, it says this in the scripture that the Israelites are God's chosen people, so that's why we always back Israel. Yeah, but Israel wasn't a state until...
Well, I mean, I guess you're talking about historical Israel, that before, yeah.
So it's amazing how we all, kind of decipher what we want out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, true. I mean, yeah. They, I think, obviously the Israel was the original homeland of the Jews, obviously biblical, and, but that changed over the centuries, of course. So,
yeah.
I mean, it isn't the modern Israel until 1948, 46 or 48. I think it's 48.
Gotcha. Unknown texter says, will we even have an election if Biden engages? I don't think they can postpone the election. Of course, there's a lot of things that I didn't think we could do that we have crossed into new territory a lot the last 4, 5, 6 years. So who knows? I didn't think they can make people stay home, force people to get vaccinated. There's a lot of things I didn't think they could make people do that they had no problem waltzing right on into.
Well, we do have 1944. We had an election. Franklin Roosevelt won re-election in 1944 during the middle of a war. In 1864, President Lincoln beat, I think it was McClellan. He ran against that year. So, the war does not stop presidential elections.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. All right, so, man, we got a lot on the Tim Walz. We got a lot of clips from last night from Tim Walz.
Do we need any?
Well, yeah.
You can blame if you want to. I mean, we're just going to agree on this one because.
This ain't about disagreeing. This is about understanding just how dominant JD Vance was last night. I tell you, we'll save the clips because we only have a couple minutes. But let's do this.
Yeah,
let's talk about just the overall performance of JD Vance last night.
It was incredible. I mean, I don't know what else I can say.
I said this. I mean, it was funny. All the commentators I was following, I was watching the Steven Crowder fact check live stream. Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting watching that. I love watching those live streams. Somebody asked me if I was doing one. I said, man, actually, I'm gonna watch Steven Crowder's instead of doing my own. I don't know that I have enough hot takes to be that interesting to do it. But simultaneously, in the group text with you guys, on the TV, and out of my fingers, we all said it at the same time, best debate performance ever. And I even said, and I saw a lot of other people suggesting this as well, that Vance could possibly be on the top of the ticket right now.
Could be.
Coming out of last night. Yeah. No, that ain't how that's going to go down or anything. That ain't no knock at Trump. That's just how impressed I was with Vance last night. And I love Trump. I'm going to vote for him a third time. This is nothing negative. But what I saw in Vance last night was politics that I hope to get back to in 4 years. Was that kind of demeanor, that surgical blade. We need the bull in the china shop right now. There's some things that need to be destroyed, and Trump is the man of the moment. But coming out of that, if America can survive whoever's president the next 4 years, JD Vance lets me know that our future is bright, and we got some young guns in politics that I think we can get it past some of this chaos that we're dealing with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, one of the most things I noticed from the night, I don't know if you watched it all the way to the end, but did you notice when Tim Walz and JD Vance and their wives got on stage, they were kind of laughing and hanging out?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, that was the end of the debate. They were actually hanging out and joking with each other, and it was like, wait a second, there's this? Like they were getting along very well.
But what's his name's wife is bat crap crazy.
Who, Waltz?
Yeah.
I don't even know her name.
Turn the page. Turn the page.
I don't even know
Turn
her
the
name.
page. We're going to turn the page. I keep wanting to ask him, turn the page on what? Your party's been in charge the last 4 years. I sure hope,
slogan.
I sure hope we're turning the page.
No, they were upstage on stage laughing and joking with each other. It was really nice. I thought JD Vance's demeanor was just excellent. He controlled the conversation like I've never seen anybody do, quite frankly, in a presidential debate. And he did it in such a respectful manner too, that he won without being crude. No, it was not, there wasn't any negativity, and he just dissected him, and he did it in such a manner where he hit him so much where Walz, I don't think, even knew what was going on while it was happening, and it's not like Walz looked terrible. He didn't, but he got beat so badly in such a calm, intelligent way, that JD ended up turning him to where Walz almost agreed with everything he said. If you noticed that, I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah.
And it was one of the, it was a destruction without being a destruction, if that makes any sense, where, it wasn't just like this yelling and mean, he just flat out beat him. And I don't know, I've not seen it done like, it kind of reminded me, and I've watched Reagan's 1980 debate, against Jimmy Carter, and he kind of had that Reagan moment. That's what it kind of reminded me of. Anybody who's ever watched it on YouTube probably haven't, because everybody's not a dork, But if you watch that, you go back on YouTube and watch the 1980 debate between Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. Vance reminded me a lot of Reagan in that debate.
I want to play this clip as we go to break here. This is Tim Walz saying that he's friends with school shooters. He talk about being off his game last night, or getting knocked off his game. This is peak right here. We're going to go to break after this.
You previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but it's only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was an NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety.
He's friends with school shooters. We'll be right back with Shaun YUURTKURAN on the Clay Edwards Show.
That's something.
Yeah, and I actually missed that last night.
Did you see? I heard it, and I was like thinking, are we on? Yeah. I heard it, and I was like, did I hear that right? Because I was like, but I heard it, and I was like, and then Fred sent a text, like, clipped out. I was like, that really happened? Like, did he really say that? But the thing is, okay, so Walz had said a couple things here that were stupid, but, like, he didn't even need to say anything stupid because Vance was so good that it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, and Vance also, I thought, the way he answered questions about, American manufacturing and were just, I think, answers that people want to hear, because this is on people's minds for so long. And I've never heard anybody put it the way he has. And I thought it really changed my opinion about him. I'm not going to say, like, it really, really did. And I've been, I try to be as objective as I can in all these situations. And like I told you, his convention speech I did not think was very good, but heck, he's new on the scene. Maybe it just took him time to grow into himself. But what he grew into was incredible. I just,
Chris just asked in the chat, he says, so DeSantis of Florida is out? Yeah, DeSantis is done.
Vance would kill him.
Yeah,
Vance would kill him. I don't know anybody that could do what Vance did last night.
Steven Crowder brought that up last night. He said, I guess there's still some talk of DeSantis trying to run in 28.
Yeah.
A lot can happen between now and then.
Sure.
I didn't know who JD Vance was 4 years ago outside of that movie. A lot can happen. We thought DeSantis could be president. But right now, DeSantis has got a lot of rehabbing to do.
And he's also, DeSantis, when he debates, when he speaks, he's very awkward. Mm-hmm. How does he go up against a guy like JD Vance? Like, I don't know how anybody does, quite frankly. Like, after, you got to think, if you're a Republican primary opponent in 2028 and you just watched last night, you got to be thinking, wait a second.
Yeah.
This guy is something, and he's only going to get better. he's only been in politics for 2 years,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he's only and I think another thing that was so good about it is that he talked like he was talking to the average American very well. And I thought, like Bill Clinton used to, like he was doing a really good job of that, and I think that was just kind of amazing thing.
And Walz didn't do himself any favor with the crazy eyes and
his looks and the way
his demeanor was just really bad. I mean, we got some ridiculous screenshots of him as we did of Joe Biden when their debate. I don't know. Look, I'm terrible. Everybody's like a running joke online that I don't know what to do with my hands and pictures.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I started the joke, so I'm in on it, but it's true. I can acknowledge that I'm goofy with my damn hands in photos, unless I'm kind of got wrapped around somebody or something. But I don't know what it is with Tim Walz. Just his body language was absolutely. He looked like a crazy person.
Yeah. Poor Tim. That's the way I felt. That's bad when you come around to debate. You're like, poor Tim, and somebody like I told y'all, I was like I obviously come into this with an open mind on everything because, I'm still a Democrat. So I'm like, is Walz going to do well? And I'm like, God bless. No, this is not. And I said that after like my takeaway from the Trump debate is I felt like Kamala Harris won that debate. So I'm going to give you my opinion in one way or the other. I don't care what side I'm on. And last night, there's no way anybody took that any other way than JD Vance completely demolished him. And like I said, and demolished him in a very nice way, not a mean way, in a very cool where I bet Walz this morning is probably got his bell rung so bad. He's like, man, JD Vance is a pretty nice guy. Like, when somebody has Stockholm syndrome, they like fall in love with their doctor.
We're coming back.
I think it's like that.
Yep. I'm going to take this into we'll wrap up the hour with this conversation. We'll have about a minute.
Okay.
Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. We got about a minute left for our top of the hour, 7-minute break with the news and all that stuff. Shaun, we actually got a text here from Michael Applewhite. Not a text, but he's in the live chat.
Yeah.
He says, "What was Tim Walz writing on that paper?" Well, I'm glad you asked because I actually know exactly what he was writing. I got a little screenshot of it here. It says, "Buy hoodie from buyfafo.com. Don't forget hoodie. Oh, get shirt too." So Tim Walz is apparently a fan of the Clay Edwards Show, or at least the FAFO lifestyle, and you can be too. I extended the pre-sale one more day to today on hoodies. So go to buyfafo.com and order your hoodie today. I'll show you if you're watching online. I'll pull up some pictures and show you the two hoodies. We do appreciate it. Look, we got another 30 minutes before Shad gets here. Our State Auditor Shad White is going to be joining us at 8:30. So you got me and Shaun. We're going to continue breaking down this debate, and who knows what else we'll talk about. Flat bill hats, holy jeans, crazy girlfriends, you name it. We'll probably talk about it. This has been the Clay Edwards Show, Hour 1. We got a whole another hour to go. Live chatters, stay in there. We're coming to hang out with you guys. We will be right back. All right, live chatters, while I got y'all's attention here for a second, let me show you these hoodies in case you haven't ordered one yet. We got
Monday.
We got the hoodies. Monday. There's the new FAFO hoodie, the OG style, all black. Really, really good looking. Shout out to Michael Applewhite there at Shirt Shop Graphics for getting that logo mocked up for me. We finally got the T-shirt available in black, not just gray. But, of course, if you like the gray is available. There it is right there. And how about the new logo? Have you seen the new FAFO logo? It's a shout-out to my buddy Fred Shanks, who was one of the guys who helped get the Mississippi Blackout tag to help make it become a reality. So we're going to honor that. We got the shirt there. And also a hoodie. The hoodie is actually going to be a little bit higher quality than the one in the picture. It's got the white drawstrings on it, not the black ones. I think hoodies are $40. They're expensive to make, so unfortunately I had to pass those savings along. I wish I could sell them for $20 and make money, but I can't. But would love your support. Get your hoodie order in today. Get your shirt order in today. And I just asked, give us about 14 days to get them here, get them printed, get them shipped. If you order today, you'll have it within, by next weekend. I think I can safely guarantee that, for the most part. So buyfafo.com. All right, let's see here, man. While I got y'all here, Shaun, what you doing over there?
I'm just trying to organize some stuff for Shad real quick.
Okay, Shaun doing some work. So let me see here. I can. I was going to take up the whole screen, but I had to readjust the cameras and everything. So you're just going to be in it.
Take me 2 seconds.
Let's see here, man. Let's check out the chat here.
Yeah. I was going to try to move to the iPad. That's why I'm trying to upload a file that I got.
All right, so
yeah, technical stuff.
Jason says. Jason said it was surgical what Vance did to Walz last night. That was actually a term I used in the video that I made, and in some of the chat that I was in. I always refer to myself as kind of a bull in a china shop, and I just thought that Vance was so surgical. You know what? I got a funny clip here and we can all agree that Walz lost last night. I think everybody can agree that Walz lost. Let's go back and play this clip of Walz from a few weeks ago, where he said that Vance was scared to debate him. Man, talk about your words coming back to bite you in the ass.
Not good.
Man, let's. I'm gonna pull the video up here so you guys can see it in the live stream here. We're bringing you technology like no other show ever has before. That's a lie, but for the sake of this conversation, we're going where nobody else has gone before. Here we go.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland.
Incident. I thought that these debaters trying to fact check only one side in this thing is just absolutely ridiculous, and I thought JD handled it very well.
Yeah, I may that's part of the thing I was paying attention to.
Yeah, that's when he murdered 2 women on live TV.
Oh, yeah, I think I missed that part.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so over. I'll be honest with you that I started kind of zoning out the last 30 minutes because it was went over the time. I think too, right? It was more than an hour and a half.
Did it?
I felt like it was, but I kind of zoned out. I was like, "Yep, this is It's kind of like when you watch a football game. It's like 40-0, and you're like in the third quarter, and you're like, "Yeah, well." I like watching the Dolphins, but I'm just like Monday night was a good example. I kind of stopped watching the game. I was like, oh, it was on, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yep. So, and guys, when we come back, man, I'm telling you the big rodeo coming up in Pillahatchee on this Sunday, October 6th. So we're going to tell you about that and more. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We're coming back now. Boom, shakalaka boom. We're back live here on the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun YUURTKURAN on a hump day Wednesday here in the ClayEdwardsShow.com studios, streaming worldwide at Save JXN on YouTube, Facebook, and of course X. We're also on our Rumble channel at Clay Edwards Show. We're streaming worldwide in audio at WYAB.com as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. And of course, we're on the mothership 103.9 FM. Pumping all through central Mississippi here on the FM dial. This segment brought to you by the Rankin County Bucking Bronc Bash. That's right, big rodeo, benefit rodeo. It's for the Leesburg Volunteer Fire Department and ever-reaching community outreach based in Pillahatchee. They're going to have bareback riding, saddle bronc riding, barrel racing, bull riding, because you can't have rodeo without bull riding if you ask me. So they're going to have a lot of fun things for the kids to do and to participate in as well. Also, fan participation things. It's going to start 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon, October 6th. That's this Sunday. Gates open at 12:30. It's only $12 a head at the gate. Kids 10 and under, you get in free. You're looking for something to do this Sunday, big rodeo bash right down there in Crystal Springs. It's located at 122 I said Crystal Springs, I mean Pillahatchee, 122 Justin Drive in Pillahatchee. Let's see here. You can get more info on Facebook at Rankin County Bucking Bronc Bash. That's Bucking Bronc Bash. Man, that just sounds like a party, doesn't it? A Bucking Bronc Bash. Mm-hmm. Anyway, if you got any more questions, feel free to reach out to them there. We're going to be talking about it a lot here on the show. You've heard the commercials playing. Good old time. And look, it's competing against football, but I'm going to tell you what. Usually by about that time on Sunday, depending on if the Cowboys are on or not, I could be talked into doing something different. I may get out there. I hadn't seen any bull riding since the Dixie Nationals.
Oh, yeah?
2 years. I didn't make it to the Dixies this past year. And, yeah, I think I may make it out there. So, anyway, this Sunday, man, you're looking for something to do, get down there to Pillahatchee, 122 Justin Drive for the Rankin County Bucking Bronc Bash. All right, Shaun, we got Shad White going to be here at 8:30. He'll be here with us for an hour. Today's going to be a 3-hour show. So I think I said we had a whole another hour to go. We had a whole another 2 hours to go this morning. And then Shaun's got to turn around and do another podcast.
Yep.
With Lindsey Beckham. They're going to be interviewing the prosecutors, Michael Smith and what's her name?
Catherine Newman.
If I can remember one name, I can't remember the other. I've got them both. I've done Catherine, couldn't remember Michael, and I've done Michael and couldn't remember Catherine. And we're going to have Michael and
Bubba
Bramlett here in the studio Friday, right?
Yeah, I'm going to confirm that with Michael this afternoon, but that's what we discussed, that they want to come on, discuss the narrative kind of going around this trial. I think, what you've seen.
We're talking about the Carly Gregg trial.
I'm sorry, the Carly Gregg, the 14-year-old girl that killed her mother that was convicted a couple weeks ago. There's the attorney for Carly Gregg has been going around, creating a narrative that I think the DA's office is not happy with, it seems like, and I understand their point on it. And she filed actually Friday. I think you and Lindsay discussed this on Monday. She filed a motion for a new trial where she alleged that the Kevin Gregg, who's the natural father of Carly Gregg, not the stepfather, had treated her auditory hallucinations with equestrian therapy, which I guess is like horse riding or whatever. And WLBT came out with a report saying that he had never said that, released their unedited video, and there was no mention of that. So that became kind of a controversy, and which becomes an issue if that's true that they never said that, or I guess Ms. Todd had never got that. Maybe she did. I don't know if she did or not, but that's going to become an issue because the rules of ethics, you can't lie to the court. And we've all seen Judge Arthur, and I've known him since way back. I don't think he's going to appreciate that if that's true. Now I'm saying I don't know if she did or not, if that's accurate, but that's what WLBT is saying, that they never reported that that Kevin Gregg said that Carly had auditory hallucinations for which he treated her with equestrian therapy. So that's going to be a big firestorm there in Rankin County Circuit Court.
Going to be interesting to watch because they did reach out to me.
Oh, yes.
And kind of said that wasn't the case, right?
Yeah, I think you got an email from, was it Kevin Camp? Mm-hmm. He's saying that a reporter had actually told him that had happened, and he told Bridget, so it wasn't that Bridget got that information from a reporter. That he said that he got the information that he passed along. But I think, if I were them, I'm sure the court's going to ask them this, that ask them what reporter said that, and probably have that reporter come testify at the hearing on this, because it's going to be, if that didn't happen and that was made up, that's going to be a massive problem.
So the email I got exactly, and would WLBT releasing that video contradict this email?
Yeah, I'm thinking because in that email, if you want, I don't know if you want to read it.
We can read it. Let me read the email, then you tell me what you think.
Okay.
So this is from Kevin Camp, and they didn't say keep this private, but have to know you send a radio host something, they keep it private. Says Bridget asked me to reach out to you about the what is JONV?
Judgment notwithstanding the verdict. Yeah.
Okay, the judgment notwithstanding verdict she filed. Says I had talked to the reporter and conveyed what was told to me. If the accusation is about Bridget not telling the truth, she put down what I told her the reporter told me. I don't think it really matters because we would need medical records anyway. Whatever Kevin Gregg said is not admissible as far as medical records concerning Carly.
Yeah, I think he's right about that. She would have to put, right. I think she would have to add that to her motion in some way. She just put a statement she heard on the news or heard from Kevin, as he's saying in that email, and just his words. Then I don't know why she even put that in there. But I think at this point she did put it in the document. You filed it before the court, then they're going to have to prove how they got that information in the first place, or then because you just can't put stuff you can't put word on the street in a court filing. You can't just do that. So I think, Kevin's going to probably have to disclose who told him that and see if that person did, because WLBT is saying they never said that and they never aired that. So that's their position. And Kevin is saying that he heard that from, he didn't say specifically it was WLBT, but he mentioned a reporter. I'm assuming he meant from WLBT. Could have been another news organization. But she says in her motion, if I'm not wrong, that Kevin Gregg said that on WLBT. I'll have to double check that, but I believe that's what she said, that she heard him say that on WLBT. I'm not 100% sure, but that'll be a good thing for me to know before the podcast this afternoon. But in any event, if that information is not accurate, I think it's going to have to come out, like why she put that in the motion. And, if she was being untruthful, that's a huge ethical problem, I think. So.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw this out there. I feel like we're starting to get a little lost in the weeds with this whole thing.
Sure.
And, all that was above my pay grade. They're trying to understand all that. And, I think that's where – and this ain't at you. This ain't nothing about you. I'm not, not a shot there. This is just saying I think we're reaching the point with this whole thing that it's getting hard to – for the in layman terms for people to follow. Yeah. As far as like, what did she do something unethical? Was there lies? Was there this? I think we're really starting to get in the weeds with this thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
But we'll see how it all shakes out. I mean, because it's not a question of guilt.
No, whatsoever. She's on video. I mean, it's clear.
Yeah,
she's guilty.
This ain't some conspiracy theory or anything like that. And while we can sit back and play armchair quarterback and talk about the good job she did or didn't do, or bad job she did or didn't do, depending on your perspective. The only thing that, in my opinion, they were losing that no matter what.
Yeah, 100%.
It was just, should they have taken the plea deal? Was that a bad decision not to take the plea? Which, of course, armchair quarterback, benefit of hindsight. Oh, absolutely, it was a terrible decision. But I guess you're trying to play on the hearts and minds of Rain Cantonians. That maybe they'll see it differently because it's a 14-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. But I think that video sealed the deal.
Yeah.
And surely the defense knew that video existed. They weren't surprised by that video. But if you watch that and you think to yourself that anything's going to happen, this is just my opinion here, that if you watch that and you think that other people aren't going to see how cold and calloused she came across and actually probably have more sympathy for the mother, I'm not sure if we were watching the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the general consensus I've gotten from the community, how shocking that was to everybody. And I've talked to criminal defense lawyers, feel the same way. Just anybody, I've not heard a lot of people saying she didn't get what she deserved. I've not heard actually, very few. That being said, you still, I think, and I'm just looking at this from like a legal perspective, obviously, you're dealing with a 14-year-old child. It could have been handled differently. Now, that's their trial strategy. If they believe they could prove that she was not insane, it didn't seem to me that they could, considering that, Carly Gregg covered up the crime. And the thing about McNaught insanity is you have to not know the difference between right and wrong. Well, if you're covering up the crime, you certainly knew the difference. And so I think that defense probably was never going to hold water. But that's a question, between her and her attorneys about trial strategy, what decisions they made. I know I'm not in those rooms. I don't know what kind of things. I think everybody that watched it thought it was clear that, she should have made a different decision. And that's kind of where it is. I mean, I think Bubba is, I think that the reason they want to come on is, to talk about what the attorney said post-trial.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like. Because, again, look at it this way. I was going to stop talking like a lawyer for a moment. A 14-year-old kid was on trial, and she gets life without parole. There's people around the country that are like, oh, my God, the DA's office is a bunch of monsters, right? And they're not. They're doing their job. Like, their job is to prosecute, to uphold the law, execute the law, and that's what they did. They don't, and they gave her an option, a different option. She and her attorneys did not take that option. It wasn't like they said, we're not offering you any time, we're offering you a plea deal. They did. They did that. And, what else are they going to do? Not try the case? They can't do that. There's a million cases I can tell you, and I probably told you this privately, cases that I did not want to, well, I'll say this on air. I had a case one time where a guy, a kid who was 17 murdered his stepfather, right? And the reason he did that is because his stepfather comes in the house and beats the ever-living crap out of his mom, right? And breaks her leg and all that stuff. And the kid was not there at the time this happened. Stepfather leaves, goes across the street, kind of gets put out, hanging out with his buddies. Kid comes back home, sees his mom's condition, just hours later, goes over across the street to where the stepfather is, shoots and kills him, right? Not self-defense, not defense of others at that point, just sheer retaliation. Can you and I say we wouldn't do the same thing if you saw your mother all bloodied up and broken?
100%.
Yeah, I had to prosecute that kid. You know how fun that was for me? Not fun. Not something I wanted to do. But that's my job. Like, I didn't have a choice. Now, it pained me the entire time. Luckily, there was a mistrial, and, you know, thing got resolved another way. But
you did your job and let it sort itself out.
Yeah, whatever.
That's all you can do, right?
Yeah, that's all you can do. I mean, you don't really have a choice. You accepted the position. This is what you have to do. And sometimes it ain't fun. You know.
Look, I think that prosecutors don't get the credit they deserve for the stuff y'all have to put up with. All right, let's take a break. We're going to be butting up against a weird time schedule here. We may end up coming back and taking another short break, depending on the time of Shad White's arrival, whether we got him on at 8:30 or 8:35, something like that. But anyway, we're up against the break now. Y'all bear with us a little bit as we may end up taking a long segment or a short segment so we can time it out just right to get the most time with State Auditor Shad White as we discuss DEI in Mississippi, the Brett Favre scandal, the TAMP scandal, and, of course, the Mississippi Swindle book that Shad wrote. Great book, by the way. Still love the book, and forgot to bring mine to get him to sign my copy.
I brought mine.
Yeah, I thought about it, woke up, first thing I thought about, and forgot to stick it in my bag.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be right back. Y'all stay with us online. We're streaming worldwide at Save Jackson on YouTube, YouTube, X, and Facebook, and at Clay Edwards Show on Rumble if you want to check that out. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. Much appreciated. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here live on 103.9 FM WYAB. We are streaming worldwide. If I can get this picture removed from the interwebs here so you can see all of us here in the studio. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right, there we are. Now we are live everywhere. And we have got a guest here in the studio. You may recognize this man, Mr. Shad White. Before we introduce him, quick little ad read here. A1 Gear and Auto, right out there, Highway 49 South. You have any automotive repair needs, but what they really specialize in is your ring and pinion, and they have been the leader in that industry for the last 16, 17 years right here in central Mississippi. Whether it's a check engine light, air not blowing cold, squeaky brakes, they can do it all at A1 Gear and Auto. Check them out. Look, that's who I personally use for myself and my family, and there's no better cosign I can do for a mechanic than tell you I let them work on my kid's car. They diagnose it right the first time. They never charge a penny more than what they tell you it's going to be, unless they run across a problem they didn't anticipate. But you will have to approve that spend, that upgrade in money, that extra money, and it's always going to be ready when they say it's going to be ready. And to me, I think with our cars, living here in the South, everybody kind of lives a little bit further away from where they work. Very few people live in walking distance where they work nowadays in Mississippi. So it's very important to know how long you're going to be without your vehicle. A1 Gear and Auto, Justin Nelson and his team got you covered. Highway 49 South, Florence, Mississippi. A1 Gear and Auto. All right, man, we are really excited about this. We've been wanting to talk to Shad White for a while now, and we don't agree on everything, but I'm still probably one of Shad's biggest supporters as well. And Shad, I'm going to start with, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, man. I have to tell you this real fast, though. I have 3 kids. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and I've been looking forward to getting here. This morning I was dropping off my kids, and my 1-year-old, just like as I'm dropping him off, put like snot and some of the worst stuff you've ever seen on this shirt right here, this white shirt. And so at that moment I was like, all right, I have 3 options. I can go back home and change, and I will definitely be late for this show. I could call and cancel, which would be really bad, or I could put this blazer on over all this stuff and show up, and I have elected for number 3. So anyway, I'm coming in on 2 wheels and grateful to be here. But that's mornings in my house typically, so that's why it's been hard to get here. But I'm grateful for the chance to come on.
But look, man, we're grateful to have you. And before we get into the Mississippi Swindle stuff and kind of unpacking all that, I want to tell you, just extend a thank you for what you're doing to battle DEI in this state at our universities. And I don't know that anybody else is doing it and willing to put themselves out there, because the default setting anytime you want to argue this is, well, you must be a racist. And, that's like the scarlet letter, right? Nobody wants to be tagged a racist. Yeah. It happens around here a lot. But I appreciate you fighting that fight and your fight with brain drain and all that. And if we can ever, one of my passions is Jackson, Mississippi, and it becoming a livable, safe, livable place. And I think that'll help with brain drain as well.
Agreed.
If young folks have a nice urban, fun area, they, to keep them to stay here.
Yeah.
And we need more of that. And I was actually I went to a Mississippi State game a few weeks ago and kind of somehow or another finagled my way into the suites. And I was in the president's suite there, and I look over.
Right?
I look over and I see Sid Salter there. And I wanted to poke him a little bit so bad, but I was like, "No, you're a guest here. Don't do it."
You're more diplomatic than I am, Clay Edwards. I never thought I would say that sentence, but thank you for saying that. On the DEI thing, there's a lot of people who shy away from telling the truth about what's happening with our taxpayer dollars at our universities. And I think one of the reasons is exactly what you said, that they don't want to be called a bad name. I think another reason, frankly, is that a lot of our politicians, not only do they not want to be called racist, but they also don't want to jeopardize their free football tickets to our university games. I mean, I'm just speaking bluntly.
Yeah, please do. That's what we do around here.
And so, I view it as, well, I'll just say it this way. I think it's far more important to just tell the truth about everything. I think it's far more important to tell the truth than to try to keep somebody at a university happy and simultaneously hide from the taxpayers what their money is going toward. And I also think that in the long run, if we keep just wasting money on this DEI garbage, it hurts our state and our economy. So an example from North Carolina is, they just got rid of all their DEI programs at their universities. They eliminated 53 positions across several universities, saves about $17 million per year, according to their estimates. And they're putting that money back into campus police to actually make the universities better. And if we don't start doing that in Mississippi, those universities in those other states are going to serve as economic growth engines for their state. They're going to be powerhouses for their state, and we are going to get left in the dust. But because we've got a bunch of weak-kneed people who won't talk about the truth about where our taxpayer money is going, we are not spending that money effectively. And so we've got to keep calling it out until there's enough public pressure on these universities and lawmakers to actually change where this money is going so that our state can prosper. That's the goal at the end of it, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, and and then you brought up a great point when this whole thing started kind of blew up with Sid Salter and stuff that they just changing the name on this stuff.
Yes.
But the policies have remained the same, and they're coming up with something, less controversial. But what's funny is DEI, these are critical race, CRT, these are terms that they created.
Yes.
And then we started using them against them or just calling out the ridiculousness of them. And they're like, oh, now they made like DEI like it's a swear word. To be called.
They came up with it.
They did.
In the 70s, Herbert Marcuse was the professor who came up with that. Derek Bell was the professor that came up with the term CRT. So like we're using their words to describe the thing that they invented and just telling people what they're saying. And apparently that's terrible. That's the worst thing in the world. But you're exactly right when you talk about masking the problem. So now they know the term DEI is toxic because we've told people what it actually means. And so now the universities are changing the names of these programs to things like Access, Opportunity, and Purple Unicorns or something. They're using new words. And they're even admitting, so a spokesperson for the University of Southern Mississippi admitted to the newspaper that this was just a name change. We're not changing any of the substance of what we're doing. They said the quiet part out loud. And I wanted to pull them aside and say, you're not supposed to tell the truth if you're trying to fib about this whole thing, right? You should probably just try to cover it up like you've been doing. So anyway, the point is that we as voters, as taxpayers, we have to be vigilant about watching this stuff. As state auditor, I cannot change any of these things. I can't tell a university what to do. I can't tell lawmakers what laws to pass. But I can shine a light on where your taxpayer money is going and tell you about it and tell you the truth. And hopefully, in the end, the truth wins out. That's the goal.
I want to ask you another question. I'd be remiss if I didn't do this because this is something I get a lot with my social media. A little off topic from DEI, but Shad, you do such a great job holding state employees accountable that get caught stealing money, or state municipal employees, whatever. why can't we? We explain to people, because I think I know the answer, but I want to hear from you. Why does it feel like nothing's being done to investigate all the shenanigans going on in Jackson?
We have gotten tons of tips in Jackson. I think anybody knows from watching me that I am not shy about investigating any case at all, regardless of who it is, what the color of their skin is, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever. The simple truth of the matter is we can only work with the evidence that we are given from whistleblowers and then the evidence that we dig up as a result of that. And so I would just say this in general. If there's ever a situation where somebody says, well, why haven't you done something about that? Number one, we may have done something about it. We may have investigated it, and a prosecutor has just not taken our case yet. That's possible, right? And then number two, a lot of times when we go into a place and we start an investigation, we are reliant on people being willing to tell the truth about some of their co-conspirators and what they've done. And if they are not willing to do that, we don't have a case. So that's the challenge. But for anybody who's out there who says, well, Shad White hadn't done anything on Jackson, number one, we have investigated specific tips related to Jackson. And I'd ask them to tell me, why do you think I would be scared to go after Jackson? Like, what possible reason would there be? I'm not. Like, there's absolutely
It'd be like
no
a plus
reason
for you, right?
There's no reason. I can't speak to. There's no pluses in a crime, right? But there is no reason why I would not fully investigate any tip that we got related to Jackson.
So what we've been told is that. So what I've been told why stuff may not get investigated in Jackson is that as state auditor, you can't investigate incorporated municipalities unless they ask you to come in. Is that true?
There's some truth to that. Here's the way I would say it. We're not allowed under law to audit cities, period. That's clear in the statute. There was an attempt to change that in state law this past session, and it died. So we're not allowed to audit cities. Now, if I get a specific tip in from somebody, let's say you're a city employee in Jackson, and you say, Shad, I've got a tip related to a specific allegation of criminal activity in Jackson. We can take that specific tip and we can do a criminal investigation on that by itself, but we cannot do a general audit of Jackson. So what we do when it comes to any city is that anytime we get a specific tip in, we bear down, we go as hard as we possibly can. We have a great team at the auditor's office. They go as hard as they possibly can. That's why we've recovered more money in the last 6 years than any other 6-year period in the history of the state. But you can't guarantee that there's going to be a result at the end of it. We only do the investigating part. We don't do the prosecuting part. Cannot.
Can't they? They can invite you in, right? Didn't Chokwe invite you guys in to do one? Did I read that wrong?
Yeah, what was it? Maybe on the benefits scandal, something to do with benefits.
I thought you sent me something like that, Clay.
He not to my knowledge.
Okay,
no, not to my knowledge.
Well, you know, so I would.
There was a period when you probably remember all the stuff about the garbage contract. The mayor did ask us to look at one version of the garbage contract at one point. And so we had technical assistance staff answer a question for him about whether or not that specific version was legal or not.
Okay, maybe
that's the most specific request that I can recall us getting from the
I think
mayor.
that was what it was related to. I'm thinking of.
There was something, not to get bogged down in the weeds on what it is, but there was something a month or so ago where somebody in their employee retirement benefits package, or somebody had found a way to graze a little off the top or something. And
so that's specific enough for us to look into. Absolutely. So if that gets forwarded to us, we can dig into that. Yep.
Okay. Let's take our first break here in this hour. We got State Auditor Shad. What's our first break with Shad? We have Shad White here in the studio. We got a bunch of things we want to hit with him. We're going to get into all the Brett Favre drama, the Mississippi Swindle book, and more. Hey, look. If y'all haven't read the book, it's the first whole book I've read front to back in a long time, and I appreciate that. And I truly enjoyed it. I did, but but one of the other things I want to get to in that is it's something I've been harping a lot about on the show is what feels like an internal civil war between conservatives in this state and nationally. I want to get your take on that when we come back and more. We got Shad White and Shaun YUURTKURAN here on the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. All right, guys, y'all stay tuned in the live stream, and we'll be right back on the other side of this break.
Judging the open mic competition?
Yeah, Shad, in a previous life, I owned nightclubs and was a concert promoter. for about 15
nice.
years.
Okay.
And I don't know that makes me the judge of talent by any means, but they keep asking me to do these things.
You had to do a little of that. That's fair. You got to figure out who's going on stage and who is going home.
Well, so something I got to go down memory lane yesterday. One of my all-time favorite bands has been broke up for about 15 years, Cross Canadian Ragweed. And they've just announced that they're getting back together for one big show at the Oklahoma State football stadium. And and everybody online's like all in a tizzy about it in a good way, And I
got to lie, pretend I know who that is.
I have no idea. I nodded like, yeah.
I could feel you doing that. Right? I did the same thing.
That kind of that red dirt country kind of that Texas sound, and so I got to take a picture of the ticket that I save everything. So I got a picture of my ticket and my working pass from that night. I was like, it reminds me we're the first person to bring them to Mississippi, kind of in their heyday. So they're getting back together and planning on selling out a football stadium, so they have their crowd.
That's kind of cool. That's cool.
So that was kind of my trip down memory lane yesterday. But anyway, I guess that's why they keep tabbing me to do these things, and I don't say no either.
I like it.
Like some point I need to learn to say no.
Right.
But
it's like Oasis. So the first CD I ever bought was "What's the Story, Morning Glory" by Oasis.
Oh, yeah.
Shaun knows what I'm talking about, and they're getting back together after. 25 years. They're doing a show at Wembley.
I saw the possible leaked cities for the U.S. version of that
tour.
Oh,
no way.
Yeah,
no
so
way.
they're going to be hitting, the major markets, just like 5 or 6 markets. I think they're going to do 2 nights each market.
Okay.
I just didn't realize the appetite for Oasis was double nights at a football stadium strong in America, but I guess us Gen Xers, early millennials are very excited about, one of the big groups from the 90s.
Oh, yeah. I was in 8th grade. That was the coolest thing ever, was to go buy a CD. That was the first CD I ever bought. So I can't afford tickets to whatever these shows are, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that was my senior year in high school. We walked to that song, actually. I remember 97. So.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Hi, Shad, I'll take this first kind of question. I'll let Shaun, he's got several he wants to hit you with too. So in the book, Mike Hurst came on here. You went pretty hard at Mike Hurst. I think his name's mentioned 120 some odd times in the book.
Not quite, but close. Yeah, man.
Give or take. And so it's mentioned a bunch in there.
Or something.
And my question is this, and this has been something that I've been guilty of this too. We're calling out the establishment Republicans, and I don't really pull any punches regardless. If I disagree with somebody, we're going to talk about it. But going into the election here, I'm like, man, do I need to kind of wind that back? Do we need to kind of all be on the same team here as we're trying to save America? And I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like that this internal civil war that's going on in the Republican Party in state with you and Mike, who is now the leader of the GOP, coincidentally, do you think this is good or bad, or what do you hope to get out of this?
Yeah, what I would say is my whole purpose was to just tell the truth about what happened, period. Yeah. And so I thought it was important because there was a large amount of taxpayer money wrapped up in this whole thing to tell people the truth about everything that went on. So I'll say this, going back to early 2020, I was very frustrated with Mike because of a press release that he put out. So if we're going straight to the heart of that question, well, why create this disagreement? I did not create the disagreement. The disagreement began with a press release that came from Mike back in February 2020. So back then, I had briefed Mike on this case that we had coming up. I sent the case file that we had also to the DA, who, as you all know, local DAs are a bit faster than the federal government at processing a case and getting an indictment. So we went to the local DA, got 6 indictments, which effectively cut off the flow of welfare money. We made those arrests, gave the case file over to the feds, the FBI, so that they could fully investigate the case as well. And at that same time, Hearst pushed out a press release, which was not true. So he said that I found out about this case from the media just like everybody else, which was just flat out not true. And I told Mike that was not true. He later even contradicted himself in that press release. So really part of the purpose of talking about what happened was to set the record straight for the public, because it was easy to be misled by that initial press release. Now, let me take one step back and go back to your bigger picture question, which is, do we need to be having a civil war inside the conservative movement? No. I think it's important to tell people the truth about what happened. That's all I've ever tried to do. And I will say this, there's a class of politicians who really think all the time about keeping other politicians happy. and being buddies with them, keeping powerful people happy. I do not have that luxury in my job. I do not have that luxury in my job. I'm going to tell the truth about what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened with your taxpayer money and cases involving your taxpayer money, because you paid for all this welfare money. That's your cash right there. So that was really the purpose. And what my hope is that we can put the facts on the table. People can read the book for themselves if they want to. If they don't want to buy it, go to the library, check it out. They can read it for themselves, decide what they think for themselves. But ultimately, when it gets down to the big picture questions of, are we going to come together as a party, we can unify on policy. Mike and I have had enough conversations, not related to this, but about policy, to know that he and I agree on a bunch of different stuff, maybe 95% of things when it comes to policy questions. So that's the real goal, at the end is even if we disagree about what happened in the past and all of that everybody can come together for the purpose of winning elections later on. And I think we'll get there. And I think that's where we end up at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's what's got to happen. And of course, and Mike's an adult. He's obviously, because I think everybody assumes you're going to make a run for governor. I know you're not on the Cled show to make any announcements, but I think that's how it looks like from the outside looking in, that you're setting yourself up for an eventual gubernatorial run.
Well, look, I would say this. If you think that it is politically convenient to tell a hard truth about a retired Hall of Fame quarterback and that's going to set you up for a good political run, you don't understand Mississippi politics. And I know you guys get that. Yeah. My purpose was to tell the truth about what happened here. Y'all know this is a big, complicated case, and it's got a lot of money in it. And frankly, I was just sick of a bunch of liberal reporters putting their spin on it, article after article. I didn't want my grandkids waking up one day and saying, what did Paw do with all that welfare stuff? And then looking up an Anna Wolf article, to be blunt about it. I wanted the full story, the actual truth, to be out there in one place, and so that's why I wrote the book.
Well, we can agree on that. I had my own experiences back to, you referenced some of this in the book about why you didn't go to Robert Smith, which was my former boss for a long time, actually ran his 2007 campaign.
God bless you.
Yeah, Jesus. It's a lot of stories for off air.
Gee, thanks.
Hey, look, man, I was 27 then. Come on. And you do a lot of things when you're in your 20s. You referenced the auditor when he indicted the auditors, or whenever, David Huggins and those guys.
Before I was auditor.
Yeah, you were
I do
there.
Remember that. Yeah.
And then there was I'd actually left the DA's office to go to the AG's office, so I was telling you off air how I know Richie McCluskey and stuff. Yeah. And then he attempted to indict me and another assistant attorney general at the time, and it was a big, huge, to do. And Anna Wolf wrote articles about that made us seem like we were all guilty. And then it came out where the guy that they actually, the subject of the whole thing, this was actually a dope dealer named Chris Butler, was on video packing his dope, and the whole thing got blown up. And it was just so, when I read that portion of your book, and I did identify with that because I'd actually experienced it personally. So
hold that thought. We got to take a break. We're going to keep talking through the break on the live stream. So if you guys are where you can pull up the Save JXN Facebook, YouTube, or X account, check it out. We're going to continue this conversation during the break, and we'll be back here in about 4 minutes live on the radio as well. We got Shad White, state auditor, here in the office, as well as Shaun, YUURTKURAN, and myself, Clay Edwards. We will be right back. There's a 5-second delay. And I just do a hard count on it instead of counting it out loud.
Mics aren't live right now.
The mics are live. I wanted to kind of put a button on this. I know that's not fair for the radio people, but maybe it'll drive them to.
Keep coming. Yeah.
So, Shad, what I was thinking, why I asked it like that, and you brought up the great point for me on you not being politically advantageous to go after Brett Favre, and I guess my question is, or my thought process, and what I've been saying on the radio is, it feels like, you're obviously alienating, the minorities with the DEI stuff. At least that's the way the media is going to portray that.
They will portray it that way.
And then you feel like you're alienating, blue collar Bubba, with the Brett Favre stuff.
I disagree, man. I talk to a lot of blue collar Bubbas who tell me, look, you need to tell the truth about where my money went. Yeah. And a lot of guys can go out there and love, their memories of Brett Favre on the football field, but that doesn't mean that they think that, this stuff didn't happen. That's far more likely the comment I get when I'm walking up and down the aisles at Walmart. I will say this, there's a class of politicians in particular who really want to be buddies with celebrity athletes. And am not in that group. I just don't think about it that way.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because we talked about that on the radio. I was like, I wonder because we're in the bubble. You know, this is what we're hearing it from a different crew of people. I'm not getting out and talking to average Joe at the dinner table about this particular topic. And I did bring that up. I said, I wonder if to the public, your general public, do they see it as you protecting their money? Yeah, more so than you going after Brett Favre.
I think people understand that the truth can be very uncomfortable to tell. And I was listening to y'all on the way in, too. And Clay, you made this point about why people like Trump. Why do people like Trump? He tells the truth. You know, he's got rough edges, and he tells the truth. So I think that people are hungry for that. And when I go out there and I say, look, I'm not trying to build this up to be more than it is or downgrade it to be less than it is, but here are the text messages that were sent, and here's where the money went. Your normal person, they want to know that stuff. They want to know that stuff. And I get out and I travel. Like I go speak at, the Rotary in Vicksburg, and I'll go speak to the Coffee Clatch in Picayune. And that's the comment that I get most frequently. It's, we have been waiting for somebody to tell us the unvarnished truth about all the waste, all the corruption, all of the problems in state government in general.
Well, that was, we actually did a little live stream on Friday, and we talked about Brett Favre. And I don't know what Brett did or didn't do. I've read about it, and so I'm not making any. But one thing I will say regarding the text message you just brought up, he does have text in there, and this is me, my prosecutor hat on, where he says, do we get John Davis a Raptor if that's legal? Well, to me, that's such a stupid question that it's obviously illegal that I don't know how you could not see that as something that would be illegal. Like what, and that's what kind of confused me, that he would make that kind of statement where let's go get the guy a Raptor for giving us this money. Like, how did he not think that wouldn't have been illegal?
Maybe he'll come on the show
and answer that question.
I really am not going to. I cannot speak to that. Sure. He's suing me for defamation now. So I'm just going to speak to the facts, and people can speculate or have their own opinions about what those facts actually mean for him or for anybody else.
Well, I mean, it's just like me saying, "Hey, Clay, let's go, rob the gas station next door because we like the sausage biscuits there." If that's legal, I mean, it's ridiculous. In my mind, it's ridiculous to me to make that statement with you. Anybody. You don't need legal training to know that's not legal. Is my point.
We're about 10 seconds away from being back. All right, man. That's the kind of content y'all get when you watch online through the breaks. There, good stuff there.
Yeah.
Shaun, when we come back, I'm going to let you lead some of your questions. Do an ad read real quick.
Testosterone? No.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what you got going?
Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here with Shaun YUURTKURAN and State Auditor Shad White. Real quick before we get back to the Q&A, well, I'll tell you what, actually, we've only got a minute before the top of the hour break. We will save the ad read for the next hour. Shaun, if you got something 2 minutes or less, hit Shad with it.
Well, I think, what I got's going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to wait that till the top of the thing, But I will say this as to what we did talk about on, I know Shad can't, he's getting sued for that, but there's, tacking off the Brett Favre stuff. There's been, I saw the Charlie Kirk segment and stuff where, he said, I think Kirk said something like Favre's a hero. It doesn't seem to me, and this is me, this is not Shad saying or Clay saying it doesn't seem to me that Favre is a hero in any of this. He obviously felt that he did something wrong, he wouldn't give him the money back. And
no, I thought that was a poor choice of words on Charlie's part. I thought calling him a hero.
Yeah, I mean, and then the suggestion of giving director of DHS a Raptor for funneling money, to me seems like an obviously illegal act suggestion. I know they didn't go through with it, so I mean, I think there was certainly some malice there somewhere, and so that calling him, I wouldn't call him a hero either. I thought that was just not the right way to put it. So.
Yeah, and your opinion, Shaun, is that it's almost an admission of guilt when you ask if you can give somebody a Raptor?
I mean, I just don't know any other way to look at that. Like, if you're talking about a public official who's giving you money and you're going to give them a gift. Like, it's a bribe. Let's call it what it is.
And to be clear, he has not been charged with a crime.
No.
To be clear, he's not been charged with a crime.
No. This is me saying this. I just think that, you don't have to be a lawyer to know that you can't do that. Yeah. And I think it's quite obvious. So.
When we come back, we got 10 seconds. When we come back, I do want to circle back to the federal investigation part and get you to clear up like Mike's side of that argument there about time and effort. We'll be right back with Shad White on the Clay Edwards Show. All right, guys, we'll be right back in 7 minutes with Shad White, State Auditor, and, of course, myself and Shaun YUURTKURAN. Boom, shakalaka boom. We're back. It's hour 3 of the Clay Edwards Show today. I hadn't done 3 hours in a while. I want to thank Mike Madison for allowing us to borrow his hour today. Mike will be back tomorrow, Thursday, and of course he'll be back next Wednesday as well. This is just a 1 week foray into his hour, so we could make the time to interview the state auditor here for longer than 30 minutes. So we appreciate Shad coming in. We appreciate Mike Madison letting us borrow his hour, and the station manager for signing off on all of that as well. Real quick, guys, are you suffering from low testosterone? Yeah, there's a lot of people in my comments that are suffering from low testosterone. I can tell you, if you're
Diagnosed on the radio.
Look, man, if you're suffering from fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, just ask your wife if you're suffering from low libido. She'll tell you. Brain fog or sleep disturbances. Man, you could be suffering from symptoms of low testosterone. The text line they're changing numbers, so there's no text line to text my name to. Just go to menshealthms.com, menshealthms.com. That's Men's Health in Mississippi, located at 120 Fountains Boulevard. Give them a call. Let them know you heard it on the Clay Edwards Show, and go get your free testosterone screening courtesy of the Clay Edwards Show. What's the worst that happens? You find out you don't need testosterone. You find out you need some. Your life gets better. That's a win-win-win in my book. If you need to lose a bunch of extra weight, try and Ozempic's very expensive. Your insurance probably ain't gonna cover that. How about compounded semaglutide for pennies on the dollar compared to what a month of Ozempic costs? They offer that there at Men's Health in Mississippi as well. Check them out today, menshealthms.com. All right, we got a man that is not lacking testosterone here, a man that has no fear. I'll give him that here in the studio, Mr. Shad White, State Auditor. Shad, again, thank you for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We got Shaun YUURTKURAN, former 10-year prosecutor at Hinds County DA's office. We don't talk about that enough, but Shaun spent a lot of time down there and prosecuted the
unfortunately.
Got the only death penalty in the county in what, the last 20 years?
Something like that.
No way. Huh.
Good stuff there. Well, good stuff, because when you F around, you find out around here. So
fool around and find out.
Fool around
the
around
church
here.
version.
The church version, absolutely. You're welcome to use that for any campaigning you want to do in the future.
I'll use the church version.
The church version. Look, man, we got Shad White in here. Shaun's got some questions for Shad. I hadn't quit running my mouth since I got here, so I'm going to pass the mic over to my co-host, Mr. Shaun YUURTKURAN.
I've read, Shad, some portions of the book where you talk, and I experienced this, Clay just talked about some of my experience there, and, about the feds moving slowly. And I think that's kind of the joke in the prosecutor community. It's like, when are the feds going to do something? We kind of have to deal with that on the state level. Yep. It's something that I, experienced a lot. The question I did have about it, though, is I know how a county DA's office works, and it's set up very well to prosecute street crimes, murder, armed robbery, drug crimes, those kinds of things. It doesn't generally do large, complex financial crimes. It's not something that a county DA's office generally does. And, being as familiar with Hinds County as I am, it's not something we ever did, on a grand scale. Why did you want to take it to Jody Owens, who at that time was just
Speed. I mean, that's the bottom line, is that we were investigating the welfare scandal through the last half of 2019. In December of 2019, DHS, the Department of Human Services, released an intent to award letter, which is a letter saying we're about to give a bunch of additional money to these same people who were stealing the money. And so my thought was, well, we're either going to put a stop to this and prevent them from spending that money on folks who are stealing it, or we're just going to hope that that one day maybe the money gets clawed back if these folks go to jail 2 or 3 years from now. And frankly, if I had just taken it to the feds alone and said, hey, y'all have at it, I'm not giving this to anybody else, and you let me know when you're ready to prosecute, it would have taken them a long time. The feds took another year to really get engaged after we did give it to the feds. So it would have taken them a long time. That money would have gone out the door, and you would be talking to former state auditor Shad White sitting here, because the press would have never let me live down the fact that I could have also taken this to the local DA and put a stop to that. It would have been the end of my career, because that would have been a huge, huge mistake. So instead what we did is we take it to the DA, and we gave it to the FBI, and gave it to the Attorney General's office. And, of course, the DA is going to move faster. I'll respectfully disagree with you about the white-collar cases. Most of the cases that we have successfully led to a conclusion in my time as state auditor have gone through the local DA's offices around the state. So they just in general are faster. And we assess every DA's office differently. We ask tough questions about whether or not they can handle the case. And in this particular instance, they handled it. Mm-hmm. So they indicted 6 people, we arrested 6 people, and they got 5 of 6 convictions. The lowest level person was the one that was not convicted out of those 6 people. So they did their job very, very effectively at the end of the day, and it cut off the flow of funds. And also, just remember, the feds got to look at this too. They got the full case file in early February 2020, and they were able to look at it, have been able to look at it for the last 4 years and change, and do their own work on this.
Well, you mentioned that your office, I know your office gives cases to the local DA's offices, because I had to prosecute some of them too when I was there during my time. But that's involving the theft of county money, is that correct?
No, not always.
No. Is it involving the theft of large sums of federal money?
Yeah, it could be federal money, it could be state money, it could be any of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever, I mean, obviously this is the biggest federal theft case that's been in the history of the state. Is there another one that you can cite as an example that went to a DA's office? Like another theft of federal money? If
this is the biggest, then no.
I don't mean like one as large, but just another example of a federal theft of federal money.
Yeah, I mean, we've had multiple cases involving unemployment compensation, which is just kind of a mix of state, and federal funds. Oftentimes, we've had cases involving workforce training dollars, which sometimes come down and get mixed. Federal dollars get mixed with state dollars, and so that's kind of a similar thing. Had Medicaid cases that we're working right now, so that's a mix of state and federal dollars. There's a bunch of those kinds of cases. There's nothing as large as this, because this is like, it's like saying, well, is there another football team better than Alabama? Well,
right.
They're number one, or whatever. Whoever is number one right now, Texas. But anyway, that's the short answer. Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask you at the front end of it though. Could you have gone to Mike Hurst and Jody at the same time and just had a meeting? Because we did that back when we were prosecuting. I don't know if you heard the case of James Craig Anderson. He was the black guy that was run over by Daryl Dedman about 11, 12 years ago. And we worked in conjunction with them because they could prosecute things that we couldn't and get defendants that we couldn't based on the state laws that we had. Why didn't you do that from the beginning?
So basically that is what we did, right? I go to Mike and I brief him on what we're about to do. And I told him, I said, we're also going to take this to Jody. Jody is going to end up being the first mover here because he can move faster than you can. But you guys are going to get to look at the whole thing and you're going to get to investigate it. And so, within days of that initial indictment, the FBI's got the full file. They spend the next year looking at it without really doing anything. And then eventually a year later, they do come in and they start moving. They seized a home about a year later. And then they eventually started.
Teddy DiBiase's home.
Yeah, he's junior.
Yeah, junior.
And then they started with their own indictments after that. So look, the truth of the matter is everybody had a fair bite at this apple. And that was the only way we were going to be able to guarantee to the public and show to the public that this case had been fully investigated, that everybody had gotten to look at this and had a shot to prosecute whatever they could.
So the FBI was aware once they were already indicted on the state level? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yes, but Mike was aware before that.
Before you guys actually took it to the grand jury?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
and also, I would say this: Mike, on his own, did a meeting apparently with, I guess Nancy knew. I've never been told what happened in that meeting, but from that moment on, when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I'm being investigated for welfare fraud," that might be a sign that you need to open an investigative file that day, maybe. So again, if the feds wanted to run with this and run and gun on that, they should have started from that moment right then and there. It took us coming in and saying, here's the stuff that we have dug up, and we're going to take it to the DA, and also the feds are going to get their shot to look at it, and the AG's office is going to get their shot to look at it. We'll see what they do too.
Oh, did you meet with them too, the AG's office? Or?
Yeah, so I met with the AG's office. I'll just be blunt about it, they expressed no real interest in looking at the evidence at all. So eventually we took the evidence file over to them and put it in their hand, even though they had not asked for it. Because at some point I was like, you guys, even if you don't want to see this, I am not going to be one of these go along to get along guys where we just, I am comfortable with you just putting your head in the sand and ignoring the situation. I'm giving you the evidence file so that you have to admit that you have it. Period.
Yeah, plausible deniability on your end there.
I guess that was
on their end, right? I mean, they wanted to say, we haven't seen the evidence file. Well, you hadn't asked for it, but guess what? You're going to get it anyway. I
guess that was kind of the confusion. We had Mike on, obviously, and he talked about when they were made aware of it. And I read your book, too, about when you guys had a breakfast at Primo's or something like that. I think it was. Okay. And so you went to Jody first to go over it, and then to Mike. Is that the chronology there? I'm getting that right?
It's about the same time, and we're talking about within a matter of days when those two meetings happen.
And this is all, again, before you ever take it to the grand jury or anything like that.
Yep.
Just clarity for the audience, because I think that's the confusion. So Mike you're saying, could have taken it and run with it at that point.
He could have taken it and run with it when he had his earlier meeting with Nancy New without me being in there. I didn't even know about that meeting at the time. So that's the moment at which you're alerted as a federal investigator or a federal prosecutor, hey, you can run and gun with this thing if you want to.
Okay.
I think that the meeting, if my memory, jogging my memory here, the meeting with Nancy New that Mike had, I think in the book it gets portrayed like it was a kind of a clandestine meeting, and it was kind of off the record, where Mike kind of cleared it up, at least in my opinion, and said it was way more on the record. And there were their FBI was involved, and other people were involved in that meeting. And do you want to clear that up at all?
That would have been helpful to know at the time. Yeah. I mean, when I as a colleague come to you and say, "Hey, we're investigating this big thing," it would be good to not hear in that moment, "Oh yeah, we've already met with that person." Like maybe you should have told me that earlier when that person came to you and I guess said that they were being investigated by the state auditor's office. So. That's the frustrating part of this, is that a little more communication from his end would have been helpful, and then frankly, him putting out that press release right when we made the arrest, that was also not helpful. That's not what you do to a colleague in law enforcement. I mean, can you imagine if you had indicted somebody in the Hinds County DA's office, and then, the sheriff of Rankin County came in behind you and been like, well, I don't know what those yahoos are doing over there, and they don't really know what they're doing. That sets you up for an acquittal. That puts you in a terrible, terrible position. That's not what law enforcement colleagues do to one another. So anyway, that was some of my frustration during that period.
So in that press release you're talking about, he says that he was never aware of the indictments. Is that right? I think. Is that?
We'd have to read it to go back, but what he said is something to the effect of, I found out about this in the media just like everybody else.
Okay, and again, you've said already several times that he knew about it and he could have done some just days after you'd gone to Jody about even investigating the thing.
Correct. Yes, or before that, whenever that meeting was with Nancy New.
Well, that clears. I didn't know. I was confused about the chronology, the whole thing.
Sure.
Reading it, it sounded like you had just met with Jody and then met with Mike later. And gone over
and apologies to anybody who's listening who has not read the book.
Yeah,
they're probably completely lost at this point.
Yeah,
I would say if you don't want to buy it, just go to the library and pick it up and read the first few chapters, and then you'll be like, okay, now I know what they're talking about. But yes.
Okay, that's the thing we're trying to set up. So because generally, like if you would, when I was 4 years ago, me and we've got a whole little prosecutors club that talk about these things, and we were like, why didn't he go to the U.S. Attorney's office instead of go to Jody Owens, who's just been DA for like a month and a half and has never been a prosecutor before? So that was a confusion that we all kind of had.
Speed. Yeah. If I had only gone to the feds, I would not be in this job anymore. Speed.
So I know, just to put a button on this particular topic here, I know Mike's what he said on the show that day was that he called you to meet when he found out from others the investigation was going on versus the other way around.
Yeah.
So
well, look, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like we had breakfast regularly during that period. That was not unusual. And I obviously, based on the look back at all of this, I obviously was going to take this to everybody.
Sure.
Period.
The only other thing now at this stage, John Davis and Nancy New, I'll use them. They pled guilty in federal court before state court. Is that right?
John pleaded guilty in federal court, then came to state court, and Nancy did the same. Yeah, I believe that's right.
And that's post Mike Hurst era, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Darren Lamarco was the U.S. attorney during that period.
And the first conviction that Hinds County got was actually on Brett DiBiase, is that right?
Yes, I think that's right. Yep, That's right. Yep. And then Ann McGrew after that.
Right, okay. So they actually got the first two convictions, and then the feds kind of got the big one, kind of tacking off what Hinds is doing is kind of the way I'm reading this. Is that right?
Yeah, and it was almost simultaneous. Like John Davis, I believe, pleaded guilty in federal court in the morning and then in the afternoon to state charges. So it's very bang.
Yeah.
They had a good day at the office then.
Yeah. It was a wild day at the office.
Let's take our last break here with Shad. Come back for one last segment. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shad White, State Auditor, and Shaun YUURTKURAN. We'll be right back on WYAB. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here live. We got this last segment here with State Auditor Shad White and Shaun YUURTKURAN and myself here in the ClayEdwardsShow.com studios. We'll call it that if somebody wants to sponsor it. It's the ClayEdwardsShow.com studios. Shad, let's fast forward a little bit, or not fast forward, change topics somewhat. Let's talk about the book, kind of the nexus of the book. Because I did see the other day, and I know you can't say much because pending litigation, but I guess Brett's suing you basically. You feel like you're profiting on his name and slandering him at the same time. Is that how I understand that?
I'd say you could read the motion that they filed Friday night, but a defamation case is suing somebody for saying a thing that you believe is damaging. It doesn't have to do with the profiting part. And look, let me just say this too: these defamation suits are incredibly frivolous. They have put my family through a very, very difficult time because I now have to pay for my lawyer out of Shad's pocket just for telling the truth to you, the taxpayer. And so the advance I got on the book, the money that I got paid to do the advance on the book, was about one third of the first legal bill, my first personal legal bill that I got. Not all the legal bills, the first one that I got. So anyway, these last few years have been very, very difficult dealing with this kind of stuff. But look, I knew going into this job that telling the truth was more important than any of the personal costs that I would pay. So that's why I'm willing to do it. And frankly, I mean, this may sound hokey, but it is just true. I have 3 kids. I look at my kids and I ask myself, am I doing my job in a way that would make them proud of me one day? And also, am I using my time in this position to make Mississippi the place it can be so that they want to live here one day? Am I doing what I can do to make Mississippi strong so that they will want to be Mississippi residents for the rest of their lives? So that's why I'm doing this. That's what motivates me. And I'm willing to blaze through the personal difficulties and the personal financial costs in order to get to that goal.
Let me ask this about, I believe you can answer this, about the Brett Favre stuff. What is it that he allegedly did wrong? Was it just is it not paying the money back? Did he got paid to do these speeches? Did COVID not affect those speeches not getting done? Because again, I know he had to pay the money back.
Pre-COVID. All that was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Okay, my timeline was a little off there, so that explains that. So I looked at it kind of like this, but is it kind of like when a Ponzi scheme goes down and somebody unknowingly, illegally gains money? Like the New York Mets, for example, made a bunch of money off the Bernie Madoff stuff. There were some of the people that didn't get ripped off. They profited wildly from it, but unknowingly that it was ill-gotten gains. They had to pay all that back. Is that kind of the similar case here with Brett, or is his because he did not do the speeches?
Well, I'll just say as plainly as I can say what happened, just so people know. So number one, the point to remember at the beginning is that he's not been charged with a crime, period. So I'll say that at the outset. If you go back and look, what we saw in the audit documents was that Favre Enterprises was paid $1.1 million. When you dig into the contract that justified that payment, the contract required him to go give certain speeches and do certain things. When we asked if those things had been done, meaning we asked the news if those things had been done, they said, oh, yeah, here are the events, and listed out events and dates. We dug into those events and realized that Mr. Favre was not at those events, which I believe he has now acknowledged himself too. So the dollars have gone out the door to pay for events where the contract was not complied with. So, again, it's money that went out the door and has to be paid back by somebody, period. So there's that piece. And then when you dig into the text messages, you see text messages where he is clearly saying to the other people, can we keep this confidential the way I'm being paid? He is acknowledging that this is state money that should be going to folks who are in shelters. That's the word he used, is shelters. And y'all can read the text messages. They're out there for the public to see.
I've read them before, yeah.
So those are the core facts. Those are the core facts. And people, again, can draw their own conclusions about how much blame to put on this person or that person or whatever. They can draw their own conclusions. My goal was to tell people the truth about what happened. And there's some folks who didn't want me to do that. There's some folks who get uncomfortable hearing that. But it is just the truth. That's the blunt truth. And I think that if you're in a job like mine, if you're not willing to tell the truth, you better go find a different job. Yeah. You got to go find a different job.
Didn't we? I mean, speaking of that, I was speaking to I'll give it a shout, Front Office Sports. I think it was AJ Perez kind of informed me about John Van Lanningham or Dr. Van Lanningham.
Jacob Van Lanningham.
Yep. Okay. And he's just pled guilty in federal court. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And that was in July. And that he's the one that's related to Brett and the Prevacus stuff. Is that also correct?
He was the head of Prevacus. Jacob Van Lanningham was. Yeah. For folks who have not followed the story, that's a company that was developing, according to them, an experimental concussion treatment, and Van Lanningham was the doctor at the head of it, who's now pleaded guilty to federal wire fraud charges.
And then in relation to the welfare scandal, is that
correct?
Right?
Yeah, in relation to that money that went to Prevacus. Yes.
Okay, and the way and I don't know this, but I mean, I assume that so their investigation relating to that and to Favre is still ongoing. The FBI, I would think.
Well, what I would say is that we have not been asked a meaningful question about the case in probably a year by the FBI. So it's possible. I don't know. It's possible that they finished their investigation long ago. That's what I would take away from our interactions, and that what's going on right now is that prosecutors are trying to figure out who, if anyone else, they want to charge. That's where I think they probably are.
Well, because seeing Van Lanningham, when I was notified about that this summer, it seems like the thought process would be like, is this going to lead to Favre if they've got him? I know you don't know and can't answer that, and I can't answer that either, but it seems like it may be possibly heading in that direction.
No idea.
No, I know.
No idea.
I know, right. But
let me ask you this. One of the things that's been brought up a bunch is that a lot of people feel like doing the book for what is considered still an ongoing investigation is a bad idea. I'm sure you've heard that. How would you respond to that?
It's just not an ongoing investigation. I mean, we have not done work on this in years, and we haven't been asked a meaningful question by the FBI in at least a year.
And you've got your state convictions.
Yeah, so 100%. So really, again, this case is one of those cases where the facts have been dug up. I mean, my goodness, we are over 4.5 years since the first arrests, over 5 years since we actually started investigating it. We're bumping up on the statute of limitations on almost every single act, if not already crossing the statute of limitations on almost every single act. So the investigations piece is done, unless some new fact pops up today that we just have totally not been told. Some new witness comes in the door. The question is just, between now and when all of the statutes eventually run, are the feds or any other prosecutor, are they going to prosecute anybody else? So this is actually an ideal time to get all these facts out there so that people can understand what happened to their money. And for somebody told me the other day, said, well, you should have waited for all these cases to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, including the civil cases. Like, man, that is not the way any of these stories unfold. There was a mountain of stuff written about Enron before the Supreme Court finally adjudicated all of that. The public needs to know about this stuff before it's 15 years down the road. Like, this is their money. They deserve a little more urgency than that.
And we do live in an internet age, too, where information is now. We're in the information age.
Yeah.
And so I can definitely, hearing you say it like that, I can rationalize that. Because I was probably one of the people in the camp just listening to people that I trust saying, oh, this was in bad taste to do it. But then you hear you say it like that. It's like, you know what, man? People can go find all this information independently anyway.
Yes.
I don't think you put anything in there that wasn't public record.
So one thing to bear in mind, too, is that this book at its core is a book about corruption in state government. So am I surprised that a bunch of political insiders in Jackson are suddenly mad that somebody wrote a book about corruption in state government? No, I'm not surprised. I mean, a lot of people got uncomfortable just because the word lobbying was in there. And like, you're going to have to get over it because this stuff is the truth. And yeah, I get that it ruffles a few feathers, but this is important because this is other people's money. It's important for folks to know what happened here.
And speaking of the the end of the investigation, there's still the sentencing is not over because I guess New and Davis have not been sentenced in federal or state court yet.
Almost nobody has been sentenced, period.
Isn't that interesting, though? It's been because I looked at the sentencing order yesterday, and it was September 22nd of 2022.
So
you got
what I have been told is that there's still one person that they have indicted who is pleading not guilty, and that's Teddy DiBiase Jr.
Yeah.
And so there, speaking probably from your prosecutor experience, you could say this in general. You probably don't want to sentence anybody until you feel like all of the litigation is done.
True.
Right? So that I assume that's kind of what they're waiting on is for that eventual case to play out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then just all kind of do them if they do them at the same time.
All at once, I'm assuming.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, we used to do that a lot with, especially if you had a situation like this, you had a cooperating co-defendant, and you'd make a plea deal with them. You'd have them plead guilty, but you wouldn't sentence them yet until after they testified.
Correct.
And that's the way you do things that
exactly
way. So
right.
So if that's something similar,
speaking in general, that is
in
exactly
general.
right.
I know you're not saying it, but like if they have a cooperating co-defendant, they're waiting. Then so makes sense to me. So.
Shad White, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you all for
clearing that up a little bit, man. Would love to have you back. Love to sit down and do long form sometime. Shaun, thank you. Yep. Shad White, thank you.
Let's do it after the election.
Let's do it.
Talk a little politics.
Who you got?
Oh, I'm a Trump guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm crossing my fingers and praying for our country that Trump wins, and that the people of Pennsylvania will have a little common sense on Election Day.
Oh, man, we shall see. I'm obviously Team Trump over here. All right, Shad White, thank you so much. Guys, we'll be right back. Shaun and I got one more segment to go before we get out of here today. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here on WYAB. Here with Shaun YUURTKURAN. We again just want to thank Mike Madison for letting us have the third hour today here from 9 to 10. This is not going to be a regular occurrence, but he understood we had a good opportunity to talk to Shad, kind of button up a story that we've been discussing, I would probably say more than anybody else has, at least in the detail that we have from different angles, and I really enjoyed that. It
was great.
Good to get him on record on some things. And
I think we've got. I mean, he's got. He got to say his version of it. That he went to Mike Hurst, and Mike got to say his, and that didn't happen. So like you said at the break, I mean, it's for the public to decide who they believe.
Guys, if you're hungry for lunch today, Martin's, downtown Jackson, and of course Livingston are going to be serving up your favorite specials, blue plate specials every day, Monday through Friday, and of course, they have a ton of stuff that's available every day. I'm not sure what the exact blue plate is today. What is it, Tuesday? I think it's smoked. No, it's Wednesday. Is it smoked ribs today? Anyway, you can go to Martin's Facebook page, either one, Livingston or downtown, and find out the special of the day. But look, it's always something good. Trust me on that. I'm going to tell you to get the country fried steak. The grilled chicken strips are phenomenal. The cheese sticks are great. I mean, really, that's what I judge a place on. Everything else on the menu is just cannon fodder as far as I'm concerned. No, I'm kidding. Man, the ribeye steaks are good. The Calvin's steak bites are legendary with the horseradish sauce. You can't go wrong there. The onion rings. I could go on and on and on. And next thing you know, we'll be leaving here and going straight to Martin's.
Can't today, unfortunately. But
what time is your podcast?
2:30. But I'm gonna go try to work out or do something for a couple work related things, and then I make some phone calls and get over there.
Sounds good. Well, look, man, check them out online. All kind of live entertainment constantly coming to Martin's. Downtown's the concert venue, and of course they have the acoustic unplug acts. Get out there, enjoy all your favorite football games. What's tonight? Wednesday. I don't know if there's any football tonight. Maybe some MAC action or something like that. But tomorrow night will be Thursday night football, college football, pro football. They got the decks with all the TVs out there. We did the live Clay Edwards show out on the deck last Friday. That was a great time. Weather was nice. They got that huge covered patio as well there at downtown Jackson. I could go on and on and on, but go for yourself and enjoy Martin's in person. Cold drinks, great food, better people.
Yep.
Good times at Martin's, downtown, jxn.com, or, of course, Martin's Livingston. Oh, don't forget Martin's Market there at Livingston. If you're out and about this morning, want to grab some breakfast, stop by, grab one of their made-from-scratch Southern-style chicken biscuits right out there in Madison County. All right, Shaun, we got a caller. I'm not sure who it is on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, you're on there.
How you doing today? Hey, one thing I was thinking about, and I don't think nobody never got prosecuted in the beef plant. Remember the beef plant?
I do remember the beef plant.
Millions of dollars went down the drain somewhere up in Fort Mississippi.
Yeah, that I remember all that to an extent. That kind of pre-exists my me paying a whole lot of attention to what was going on. But I do remember the beef plant fiasco for sure.
Yep.
But I don't believe nobody ever got prosecuted.
I can't remember. So I think wasn't that about 20 years ago? I guess.
About 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know Jim Hood's office was looking at that, but I don't recall.
I may be wrong. I may be right, but I think they walked away with that money. Just guessing. I don't know.
Well,
This is something I just thought about. That's all.
Well, hey, I appreciate you, brother. Great call, man. Thank you for listening this morning.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Hey, you have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I guess but back to the Shad thing. I'm glad he came in. That was really interesting listening to all that. It's obviously you brought up a great point, like the internal war that's now happened in the GOP because of the feuding, and it's not just between him and Mike Hurst. It's between him. I think Lynn Finch is feuding with him as well. I don't know if there's anybody else. I think there was a few other people in the book, and I can't remember right now, that were feuding with him at the time, or feuding with him now. So, for those things, the whole what I was thinking about during that interview, I don't know if you agree with me or not. It seems like the simplest way for this to have happened from the beginning was for Hurst and Jody and Shad to be in a room together at the beginning and decide the course of the prosecution. That seemed to be, I think it would have alleviated any of this. Like Jody could have done what he did, Mike could have done what they did, and you just would have just a consensus. And that's kind of what we did. It wasn't my case, it's Scott Rahilio's case, the Daryl Dedman case, which is a cousin of Christian Dedman in the Goon Squad. That's what happened in that time frame back in 2011. So I think that would have just alleviated all this friction, and you would have had a better working relationship between law enforcement agencies. Yeah,
no, I don't disagree. I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of clear the air a little bit with some of it. Mm-hmm. I haven't read every note of this whole case. And frankly, the Tamp stuff did not interest me. It just was not. It was not a story that jumped off the radar to me. Not because it involved conservatives or anything like that. It was a bunch of people who are unelected politicians, stealing money, and I don't know. That kind of corruption doesn't pique my interest. I'm not saying it's not important. We obviously need to, and I feel different about it after reading the Tamp book or reading Shad's book, Mississippi Swindle, which is available on Amazon and all those great places. I highly recommend people reading it.
It's very good. It's a very good book. It's very interesting.
To get an understanding for exactly the level of corruption that was taking place. And actually, we changed topics. We pivoted, but I did, one thing I do agree with Shad on was they were trying to get the indictments before that next drop of cash came. Because there was about to be another huge multi-million-dollar check written to the new family.
Right.
And they were trying to prevent that from happening because that money was just going to disappear into the ether as well.
And I think, but then I think Mike Hurst would have countered saying that, they could have found the root of the corruption had they waited longer and done that wiretapping ability they can do. So I think there's two good arguments. I don't discount what he's saying, what Chad's saying at all. Makes sense, but I don't discount what Mike Hurst is saying either about is there people out there that they didn't get because of the speed issue. So I think maybe you lose one, you lose the other kind of thing. Or you get one, you lose the other. Excuse me.
Well, I will say, and there's a lot of people that got hit with shrapnel on this, whose reputations will never come back, regardless of what you think about Brett Favre. Phil Bryant, is got some stain on him from this.
Oh, and it's consistent with Phil. Yeah, I think you hear that a lot. And that's a good thing you said, Brett, right? Look, again, I'm not judging whether he did this or that. There's a couple statements I've already made that, things he said in text that I have a problem with. Why was Brett Favre getting involved in this in the first place, though? That's always been my question. You're the super famous, rich NFL quarterback. Do you need welfare money to do ads? I don't know. He's super famous, right?
Yeah.
He's got money. I figured he had tons of money. I don't know. Maybe he had a bad financial system. We don't never, a lot of times athletes have tough financial circumstances. So,
we got this here on the beef plant. It says, yes, we did prosecute people in the beef plant investigation. My husband is one of the ones who investigated that case and arrested many. You should talk with him about that. He worked for the auditor's office for 27 years.
Okay.
And let's see here. Another unknown texter says, I don't understand why you have to be so flamboyant doing your job. Sure, it might be true. That's the part I think it's in poor taste. I put a lot of people in prison and didn't run around beating my chest all day. It's just what God called me to do. And there's definitely going to be people who feel that way about it too.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I brought up to Shad was simply this. And I don't know. I disagree. This is just my opinion on it. Maybe I live too much in this bubble here, but I do get out and talk to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
I think he's alienated people on both sides here, because I think that the Democrats love him sparring with the conservatives and arresting them for corruption. I think Democrats love that.
Yeah.
But then I think he also flips and they can't get all the way in his camp.
Sure.
A, because he's a conservative, and B, because of his pursuit in the DEI stuff. And maybe that's just me overthinking it, but I can't unthink that.
I think you remember that documentary where
I just don't know who he's trying to please.
Yeah, I know,
and maybe he's not trying to please anyone. Maybe he's just trying to do his job. But
and that's
like the previous texter said, he's doing it very flamboyantly and openly and publicly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he is. Yeah, remember that documentary we watched with your buddy Brad Franklin was in it? We were like, why is Brad Franklin in this TANF?
The one about the TANF scandal.
The TANF scandal, and Brad, which apparently had no involvement whatsoever. I don't know why they just picked a random black guy to interview for this.
Random angry black guy. Insert angry black guy here.
Ridiculous thing I've ever seen. One thing he said in there or something like this was, they basically want to see Phil go down. So I think he's made the Democrats happy, but also angry with him because Phil didn't get indicted or hasn't got indicted yet. So I think he's kind of like he's in good graces and bad graces with them.
Yeah, they're not going to vote for him.
No. I mean, they're not. But I don't know, but then of course now you go back over the GOP, and now because of this book, he's created this rift in the party between, I guess it'll be a Shad faction and a Mike Hurst faction. Is what I'm seeing, that's going to occur. I don't know who's on, I don't know about the internal workings of the state party to know who's on what side, but I think that's what's probably going to happen.
Here's the other thing: you got 3 years.
Yep.
Till this thing goes to the next level for the governor's race.
Mm-hmm.
A lot can happen. Shad can get back in the good graces of everybody.
Yeah.
Some convictions could come down federally on this, and it makes Shad look like right all along. So we'll see how it all shakes out. It's going to be interesting. So I appreciate him coming in.
I'll tell you what, man, this governor's election is going to be, just what you and I hear off air and people we talk to, is going to be like the Hunger Games. There's just so many people that want to, because of what we've seen for years was Phil Bryant, Haley Barbour was governor. Phil Bryant was going to be the successor to that. Tate Reeves was going to be the successor to Phil Bryant. And he had Bill Waller challenge him in the primary, but other than that, it was done deal. So you've had, basically at this point, what is that? How many years are we talking about there? Like at the end of Tate's term, that'll be, like 24 years of just almost a royal succession plan, for lack of a better way of putting it. And now this is the first time where it's going to be Hunger Games, Game of Thrones kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There has not been an anointed king because it's not the lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's talking about running. Man, I'm done with these old guys. These really, really old guys. When Trump gets done, I'm done with these old dudes. It's time to. You saw last night with JD Vance.
Why?
It is time to give it to the next generation.
Yeah, it's time for Gen X to take the reins of something. For once, I remember when Bill Clinton was elected, and my parents were the one. I remember saying this when I was younger. They're like, "Wow, finally somebody from our generation is president of the United States." And because it had always been somebody old, but by that time they were in their 40s, and so Bill Clinton was the first baby boomer president. Well, we haven't had our guy yet. Mm-mm. I mean, you could say Barack Obama's Gen X, but he's a lot older than us. He's
almost 60 years old.
No, he's older than 60 now. He's born in 1961. So
he's not Gen X.
Yeah, that's like the tail end of the 60s, baby boom, like
67.
Yeah, so he's not a Gen Xer. I mean, so we haven't had that our generation's leader yet. Mm-mm. It's always been them, and I think it'd be nice to see that. I think you're right. JD Vance kind of put on the line last night, like, I am this generation's leader. I thought very well, better than I've seen anybody right or left do it. What he did last night. So
I agree, and I would like to see that on a statewide level as well. And if some of the names are true, I think we're going to get that to an extent. One thing I do like about Shad is he's not your typical what's the word I'm looking for? A typical buttoned-up country club conservative Mississippi Republican politician. He does break the mold a little bit, and that is always attractive when you consider yourself not part of the elitist camp.
Yeah.
So let's take a break. Come back, land the plane for the day. We'll be right back with Shaun YUURTKURAN on the Clay Edwards Show. All right, folks online, we appreciate you all for watching today. All the comments. We had our biggest live stream audience to date, which I knew we would for this event. So thank you all for that. Thanks, everybody. Hit the share button. When I get some time later today, I'm going to go back, chop this up, edit it up, and get the Shad interview cut out for anybody to go back and watch if they want to watch just that. This has been the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun YUURTKURAN. I will be back here tomorrow, I do believe, flying solo, unless I've got somebody booked that I don't recall. And stay tuned to all my social media. You know me. When news breaks, I break with it. So we'll be back. Peace out. Stay blessed. And you know what I'm about to say next. Avoid Jackson, Mississippi gas stations at all costs. Get out, support these great sponsors. Don't forget big rodeo this Sunday, down in Pillahatchee, the Rankin County Bucking Bronc Bash, right over there, 122 Justin Road. Also, this next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, it is October 12th. It's the City of Pearl Oktoberfest and Gumbo Cook-Off. Get out there for beer, fun, food, car show, family activities, and more. Shaun and I will be broadcasting live at some point. We got to get our schedule worked out just right because we got our sports show that morning at McBee's. But go ahead and circle the calendar. Saturday, October 12th, Oktoberfest in Pearl. And this upcoming Sunday, Rankin County Bronkin Bull Bash. Bronkin Buck Bash. That's a mouthful. Down in Pillahatchee. Going to be a good time. I'll tell you more about it if you follow me online. I'm share the flyers and all that good stuff. Here live on WYAB. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Again, I'll be back tomorrow live from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on WYAB, and, of course, streaming worldwide and video on all the different platforms there. We have signed off online for the day. Again, I want to thank Mike Madison for letting us have his hour. You Mike Madison listeners out there, I know you were mightily disappointed to tune in for the third hour of the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun YUURTKURAN. But, hey, it be like that sometimes. You can't always get what you want. Anyway, Shaun, thank you. Good luck with y'all's podcast later.
Thanks.
I'll see you Friday. Well, I'll see you tonight. Y'all be sure to get out tonight. See me at Burgers Blues Barbecue, downtown Brandon. Bring a case of water, please. We're sending a truckload to North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina, to be exact. I'll be there 5 p.m. to 10. Peace out.